you're doing?
A dinosaur? What?
Jay Allington and their 104 raiders don't know what they're in for.
What you're doing?
Well, holy cow. Hello, everybody. Welcome, Raiders. I wasn't expecting to be on this early, but, holy moly. Monkey Arms, this is a raid. Do you have drinks? I got one. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have everybody here. Holy cow. Shoot.
I see that my 50,000 a year has been well spent.
Yes, indeed, Jody Fish. Thank you for those 21 months of support. Really appreciate that. And thank you, Jay Arlington, for the raid. Welcome to Paleontologizing. How are you doing? It is great to have you here. Thank you for the follow there, Party on Barth. Party on Barth, yeah. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Shoot, my name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach, which is what we're going to be doing today. And thank you, Bottlebag, for the follow. First of all, Jay Arlington, how did your stream go? I hope it was really, really good. Thank you for raiding in. I really appreciate it. We're going to be talking dinosaurs today. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, so I study dinosaurs, I dig them up, I publish on them in the scientific literature. And Otto the Potato, thank you for those 6 months of support. Thank you very, very much. Yeah. Thank you. 6 months is a long time to support. Thank you, Otto the Potato. I really appreciate it. And Liv Ashlyn says hello from South Africa. Well, hello to you from the beautiful, sunny San Francisco Bay Area, where I reside. I hope you're having a lovely day over there in South Africa, or evening, I suppose. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for saying hello. And, did they all have feathers? Ooh, we'll talk about that, Jay Arlington. A lot of dinosaurs had feathers? We'll talk about which ones in a little bit. I have to continue getting ready here, actually, because I'm not 100% ready. But thanks to your raid, and let's get another shout-out for Jay Arlington. Can we? Thank you, moderators. Jay, thank you again for your raid. And I'm going to call forth a good friend of ours. We call him Previously Recorded Danny.
If you're feeling cheated, try blaming the dinosaurs.
Thank you, Niffler, for those 100 bits. Previously Recorded Danny is going to tell you a little bit about who I am, what this channel is all about, what in the world a paleontologist is doing here on Twitch. So without further ado, let's call him forth. Previously Recorded Danny, it's your time to shine.
Well, thanks, present day Danny. Well, if you're new here, then welcome to Paleontologizing. You might be wondering to yourself, where's the video games? Well, my name's Danny Anduza, and I'm a paleontologist. I don't really do too much in the way of video games, I guess. I work on dinosaurs. But how does a paleontologist end up on Twitch? Well, I'll tell you. It all started when I moved to Montana right out of high school. In my first week there, I started working in the Paleo Lab at Museum of the Rockies, which at the time was probably the greatest dinosaur museum on the planet. If you've ever seen any of the Jurassic Park movies, then you're more familiar with that institution and with my old boss than you may realize.
You consulted on that movie.
I did consult on all those
and they
movies.
said the guy Alan Grant was you.
Yes. Yeah, well, fortunately, he didn't get eaten.
It was in that program that Jack Horner built that I learned how to be a dinosaur paleontologist. I learned a lot of that from Jack Horner's last graduate student, this guy, Denver Fowler, who would go on to become curator of the Badlands Dinosaur Museum in North Dakota. Under Denver, I did nearly a decade's worth of fieldwork, digging at hundreds of sites in the Upper Cretaceous, excavating literally hundreds of dinosaurs. Here's just a few highlights. In 2012, I discovered the world's oldest specimen of Chasmosaurus, hopefully soon to be published as a new species. In 2017, we dug up a brand new ankylosaur.
Montana's news leader.
5 paleontologists are excavating what looks to likely be a new species of armored dinosaur.
So we found its head, we found parts of its armor and plates, and so it should be a new species.
I've also been lucky enough to help collect another very important specimen, the world's smallest and youngest Tyrannosaurus rex.
And much like my fieldwork, my research is also centered on dinosaurs.
Some of that deals with new genera and species, like this guy, Churarchuncus, a bizarre little theropod from the very end of the age of dinosaurs, who was just published in July of 2020. I've got a few studies in the works right now, some of them focusing on dinosaur biogeography, and some others on behavioral functional morphology, basically looking at bizarre features of dinosaur skeletal anatomy and trying to figure out why those features evolved.
And one of my current projects involves Spinosaurs. But I can't really talk about that until it's closer to publication, so don't ask me about it yet.
Anyway, let's get back to how I ended up on Twitch. A couple years ago, things were definitely on the decline in Montana, so I packed up and moved back to the West Coast. And I have been so much happier here.
I've also realized that I have very little patience for the soul-deadening bureaucracy within academia. So for the time being anyway, I've moved my career in a different direction. And lucky for me, it happens to pay a lot better too.
I kind of stumbled my way into a job in early childhood education. I get to make a real difference in kids' lives and help instill a love of nature and a burning curiosity for the world around them. Then coronavirus descended, and the school shut its doors. But I wasn't about to let a global pandemic stop me and my students. We just moved online.
1, 2, 3. I love digging in the dirt with just a pick and brush. Finding fossils is my aim, and so I'm never in a rush, because the treasures that I see are rare and ancient things, like velociraptors' jumps or Archaeopteryx's wings, and all the kids who wanna see them lining up at our museum. I am a paleontologist. That's who I am, that's who I am, that's who I am. I am a paleontologist. That's who I am, that's who I am, that's who I am. That's who I am, that's who I am, that's who I am. That's who I am, that's who I am, that's who I am.
Having made the jump to teaching remotely, it was only a short leap from there to Twitch. I started streaming in May of 2020, and it's been tremendously rewarding. Now, it's my belief that any good scientist should also be a public servant. In my opinion, talking to everyday people about your science is one of the most important things a researcher can do. Twitch is kind of an ideal medium for that.
This is my passion, and now I get to share it with you. And what could be cooler than that?
It's my intention to continue this mission of education by answering your questions, providing good science content, and working to grow this channel. And if you can help out by continuing to watch, or if you can afford it by subscribing, I would be deeply grateful.
So, for my regular viewers, thank you for sitting through that again. And for everybody who's new, welcome. We've got a fantastic little community going here, and we'd be really happy if you'd join us. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up and get back into it. So, present day Danny, back to you.
Well, thank you very much, previously recorded Danny. And thank you to Lutjaw for the follow, and Alan Watts for the follow too. What's this?
A chicken.
And thank you to Jay Arlington for that incredible raid. I really appreciate it. Right at the beginning of the broadcast. Caught me a little off guard before we were even getting started here. But, and Ron Mexico, thank you for the follow too. Well, shoot. Now you've got an idea of who I am and what this stream is all about, but let me tell you a little bit more about what we do, because there's some new stuff that wasn't covered in that video. Well, I dig dinosaurs, and I do it live on stream.
This is the horizon, which marks the extinction of the dinosaurs. Below this level, and out in here, there are dinosaur fossils.
Well.
Below this level, on these rocks, there are no dinosaur fossils. So I'm actually standing on the level that marks the extinction of the dinosaurs.
Gaming with Ozzy and Sharky.
And their 8 raiders have stumbled below that level. Let's talk dinosaurs.
Thank you for the raid. Welcome to Paleontologizing. And Jude Celtic Football, thank you for the follow. And Jody Fish, thank you for gifting. Live Ashlyn, it's great to have you here.
Are you a fan of dinosaurs? I won't get angry if you aren't.
Jude, thank you for the follow. Anyway, one raid after another. This is brilliant. Jude, welcome to Paleontologizing. Gaming with Ozzy and Sharky. I appreciate the raid. Welcome to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. This is my office here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And here we talk about dinosaurs. We talk about fossil science. I answer your questions about the history of life on Earth, about paleontology, about extinction and evolution, and what it all means. Why it's important. Why it's relevant to your everyday life. The study of fossils can give you a perspective that kind of changes your outlook on a lot of things in a really good way. So hopefully, if you'd like to, you'll absorb some of that today as we talk about fossils. Anyway, good stuff. In New Mexico, I don't think I've ever actually been to New Mexico, Slayer Darth. There are some dinosaurs there. Yeah. And Mysterious Shark says, "Hi, Dino Danny. You are so cool. Also, you are a dinosaur because you are really cool." I sometimes wish I were a dinosaur. You know, back when I was a kid, I wanted to grow up to be a dinosaur. And I realized pretty quickly that that wasn't really feasible, so I did the next best thing. I became a paleontologist, a dinosaur paleontologist. And here we are today. So if you've got dinosaur questions, we've got dinosaur answers. Or questions about any topic in paleontology or natural history, basically. Yeah. Anyway, and hey to you too, Retro Roadshow. Gaming with Ozzy and Sharky, how did your stream go? Tell me about it. Or Raiders, tell me about how the stream went. Likewise with Jay Arlington. Tell me how your stream went. I hope it was excellent. And what did you even get into? Let me shut you out again. There we go. Doing some just chatting. Excellent. I hope it was good. And, we're Gaming with Ozzy and Sharky doing? It doesn't say. Mysterious. Well, I'm glad you're here. I started today's stream a little bit early, which is why I'm a little bit off kilter right now with those raids, but yeah, I need to end a little bit early today. Probably just around 5 o'clock my time. So like 4.5 hours from now. No, 3.5 hours from now, sorry. Because I'm going to go see the new Godzilla film. With friend of the stream, Snail Chaser. So I'm finally going to get to see that. I've been, especially when I was a kid, huge Godzilla fan. Haven't really enjoyed the more recent movies. The American ones have been pretty lousy since the one in 2014, which I think was really good. But I've heard excellent things about this next one. I'm really excited to see it. So I'll report back on Monday, tell you what I thought. And Godzilla Minus One? Exactly, Ragnaroker, yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. And holy cow!
Dig up dinosaurs?
Try to.
Wow.
Dyson Dinosaur and their 5 raiders wanna know what it's like.
Dyson Dinosaur, holy cow! Thank you for the raid. Shoot, I had to start early more often, huh? Welcome, Dyson Dinosaur and raiders, back to Paleontologizing. How are you? I hope things are good. I hope you've been having a good day. Hope you had a wonderful stream. How are things? Dyson Dinosaur is also a paleontologist. I'm not the only one here on Twitch. Yeah, I finally got back to my streaming activity after a wee holiday. Good for you, Dyson Dinosaur. I hope it was an excellent holiday for you. Thanks for bringing your folks in here. Welcome, welcome. On today's stream, we are going to be answering some questions about feathered dinosaurs. Who was it who asked that feathered dinosaur question in the chat? We had a raider who asked that. Show yourself. I want to answer your question for you. I want to talk about that because it's an important topic. Feathers in dinosaurs. We'll probably also be talking about the Nanotyrannus controversy a little bit. Yeah, I know some of the movers and shakers in that whole deal. The lead author on that paper, Nick Longrich, was on my field crew in Wyoming back in June, and I talked with him at length about this. He basically told me much of what was going into the paper, before it was even, in press, let alone before it was published the other day. So yeah, theropods not for you. Gotcha, Dyson Dinosaur. Well, no worries. But on the subject of feathers, though, we've got, ornithischians with feathers too. Culindodromius and Tianyu-long and critters like that. So we'll get some non-theropod discussion in too, Dyson Dinosaur. I know theropods, the toothy, mostly meat-eating dinosaurs get a lot of attention. And even other dinosaur paleontologists sometimes go, oh, theropods. Everybody talks about theropods. But, well, I like theropods. I like ornithopods. I like sauropods. I like thyreophorans. I think they're all endlessly fascinating. But yeah. Matt M33 is currently in a 35 stream streak. Holy cow, Matt M33, that is impressive. And Bottlebag, who just followed a moment ago, says, how do you feel about the commercialization of fossils? It's an interesting alternative asset class. I'm honestly not a fan of it, Bottlebag. And I was actually asked to come on to a news broadcast to talk about this a little over a year ago. And I can show that to you here. There.
Yeah.
Let's scooch back. Burp. There we go. I was really nervous about this one. Also, it was live. It was 3 in the morning for me. This is Michael Portillo, who I guess is a former British member of Parliament. He was an MP. And this is GB News, which is, considered a pretty right-wing network, even in the UK. And so I was going into this kind of thinking it might be a struggle, I was pleasantly surprised with how it went.
Welcome back. In the world of dinosaur bones, something is out of joint. A skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus rex named Shem was due to be auctioned with appropriate hype in Hong Kong this coming week. Expected to fetch more than £20 million, Shen was abruptly withdrawn from sale by auction house Christie's when doubts emerged over the provenance of parts of
And
the
they contacted me via Twitter,
plot
Dr.
thickens,
Irvin.
as it appears that some of Shen may be replicated from the bones of another T-Rex called Stan. This Jurassic whodunit has serious implications. Globally, millions are made.
And by the way, the majority, like the vast majority of the skeleton was just copied from Stan. They were casts of Stan, which they purchased and then like did not reveal. They thought they could get away with it. They didn't realize that paleontologists would point this out and say, hey, those are Stan's bones that you copied to fill in all the missing pieces. There was really just a handful of actual Tyrannosaurus bones in this case, and yeah.
Illegally trading bones and fossils, which are diverted from scientists who could study them.
And I was really actually impressed with Michael Portillo and his crew here, where they were kind of starting with the position that, like, these are important scientific specimens. They should be studied by scientists. I thought I was going to have to, like, you know, fight against some sort of free marketeer kind of, you know, rhetoric about this. But no, it was like, Michael Portillo gets it. I was impressed.
David Waterhouse is the Senior Curator of Natural History and Geology at Norfolk Museum and joins us from Norwich. Hello, good to speak to you again.
Yeah, nice to see you, Michael.
And from Northern California, dinosaur paleontologist Danny Anduza, who hosts Paleontologizing, which can be viewed on Twitch.
What in the world is that? What kind of nonsense is he speaking there? It's Twitch. Who ever heard of that? Anyway, yeah. And Cosmos says, well, I'm not a fan of authentic dinosaur skeletons going for auction, a replica of it going for auction. Well, yeah, absolutely, Cosmos. I'm 1000% for that. And shoot, if anybody watching ever wants to purchase a dinosaur replica skeleton, this is the place to do it. I know that's a Smilot on there, but yeah, let's look at dinosaur skeletons. Rob Gaston from Fruta, Colorado. He's actually the guy that Gastonia, the ankylosaur, is named after. He does some of the best dinosaur skeletal reproductions in the world, and he does them for like 1/3 the price of what other people offer them for. So yeah, Gaston Design. Just on the off chance that anybody is in the market for something like this, and you've got $63,000 to drop on an Echinocephalus ankylosaur skeleton. A replica. These are all, you know, cast from the original bones, like exact copies of the real thing. This is how you own a dinosaur skeleton ethically. Because here your money is actually going toward funding dinosaur research rather than taking specimens away from science. You know? And who is buying it, says Todd in Minnesota? Mostly museums are purchasing these. That's one of the reasons why Rob Gaston keeps the prices so low, is he doesn't want to gouge museums, you know? He's a good guy. Yeah. Well, find us in museums. There we go. There's some museums where almost every dinosaur in it is from Rob Gaston, especially some in Japan that are like that. Yeah, the National Science Museum in Tokyo, the majority of those, I think, or at least a big number of them, are almost entirely Rob Gaston ones. Anyway, back to...
And from Northern California, dinosaur paleontologist Danny Anduza, who hosts...
And Todd in Minnesota... No, you're not following Todd in Minnesota. No. This is different. What I was showing you here, these are fossil replicas produced by Rob Gaston. This is the ethical way to do it. That's $63,000. $20 million is an incredible ripoff. It is highway rob. It's criminal, which is why this was withdrawn from sale. You know,
Paleontologizing, which can be viewed on Twitch. David, first of all, why does it matter that there's an illegal trade? In what way are they diverted from scientists, and why does that matter?
Yeah, I think you know, these are really important things. They're not just art, and I think that's the problem. That's not to
downgrade art in any way.
Yeah.
But we're picking up scientific information about our environment, the environment in the past. We can learn about our environment in the future. So potentially really important science can be lost if these fossils like T-Rexes and other fossils go straight into the hands of private individuals.
Danny, can you understand why a skeleton could be worth $20 million or pounds or whatever?
Frankly, Michael, I can't. As somebody who's dug up a lot of dinosaurs over the years, I've done a lot of field work in places like Montana and Utah, working with various museums. It doesn't cost very much to dig these things up in the first place.
It
Maybe
really
a few
doesn't.
$100 or a few $1,000s to
Yep.
dig up, a handful of bones, like in the Shen specimen. There's really no reason in the world why it should sell for anything over $1 million. Paleontologists like me are flabbergasted every time that happens, and I think it's because the buyers are being misled, as they were in the case of Shen.
And I didn't think I had very much time there to complete my answer, and so I just tried to cut it off real short, but I should have said this is just a handful of actual Tyrannosaurus bones, and the rest is filled in with bones that are copied from this other skeleton, nicknamed Stan. And the Black Hills Institute in South Dakota actually has the rights to those bones, and so they were suing these people, basically, because they're like, you took our dinosaur, you copied it without asking us or anything. And like, I guess these guys were just trying to fly under the radar here and like hope that nobody would notice, but like, no, people noticed.
Sticking with you, Danny, there was the case of the actor Nicolas Cage, who into his possession there came a skull. Do you want to describe that and tell us what happened about that?
Sure. There's so many of these cases that it's sort of difficult to keep them separate sometimes. But if I recall correctly, this was a Tarbosaurus skull that Nicolas Cage, I guess, purchased at auction, and that had been illegally smuggled out of Mongolia. This country kind of nestled between China and Russia.
I say this every time we watch this, but I can't believe that I like tried to explain the concept of Mongolia to the viewing audience. Like, I feel like I was talking down to people. But yeah,
a wealth of dinosaur fossils from that country, one of the world's greatest, dinosaur fossil fields.
And Cudmo says the skull with Nicolas Cage is not a national treasure. No, it is. Just for a different nation, from Mongolia. There's a book about this whole thing here. If you're interested in like kind of the scumminess of the international fossil trade, I highly recommend this book called The Dinosaur Artist by Paige Williams. Obsession, Betrayal, and a Quest for Earth's Ultimate Trophy. This talks about that particular case, and then another one too, in which fossils smuggled out of Mongolia were sold at auction in New York, and it ended up, with a prison sentence for the guy who smuggled them out and sold them. It's like part true crime, part science, part international adventure. I'd highly recommend it. The Dinosaur Artist by Paige Williams. You can even get it as an audiobook too, if you prefer to have your books read to you as you do the dishes or walk your dog or go for a run or whatever. So yeah, good stuff. For a book written by a paleontologist on this topic, though, I'd recommend The Dinosaur Dealers by John Long. John Long is one of Australia's best-known vertebrate paleontologists. And there he is right there. Mission to uncover international fossil smuggling. This is from the early 2000s, I think. And yeah, it's a charming little read. I think you'd like it too. Yeah. Anyway. Dinosaur Dealer's more like Dino Stealer. I know, right? Retro Roadshow. That book actually starts off with some stegosaur tracks from a site in Australia, which were sacred to some of the local Aboriginal people. They were stolen, hacked out of the ground with power tools, and stolen. And so it kind of gets John Long thrust into this world of, you know, the international fossil market as he tries to track these down. Entry Looter, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah, and lots of black market fossils in Morocco. Absolutely, Mama Kun. Yeah, yeah. It's pretty distressing, actually. But yeah, yeah. And Mayor Space, this is true. It is a good time to note that Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, he has a cast of a Tyrannosaurus skull, not the original. It's a cast of Stan's skull. There we go. Yeah. People speculated that The Rock is the mysterious, controversial buyer of a $31.8 million T-Rex skeleton, but he says he just owns a replica. And yeah, that is just a replica of Stan's skull. That's the same specimen, Stan, right there. By the way, here's a link. This specimen here is a commercial specimen. It was owned by the Black Hills Institute in South Dakota, which is a big showroom. They kind of claim to be a museum also, but they were a showroom. And that point is really made clear by the fact that they were forced to sell this a couple years ago. It went for $31.8 million. It was purchased by a museum in Abu Dhabi, I think. So anyway, at least it's going to end up in a museum. It very, very easily could not have. So anyway, this is why the commercial fossil sale is, like, the commercial fossil industry is so frustrating to researchers like myself, is because we are operating with usually very, very slim budgets. We would not have dinosaur fossils unless we dug them up ourselves. We might have an entire field season wherein we dig up dozens of dinosaur skeletons, or specimens, dinosaur specimens, usually not whole skeletons. Like, our full budget for that might be, if we're lucky, a couple $1,000s, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 if we're really lucky. That's all, you know, and we might get dozens of dinosaur specimens out of that. And then something like this sells at auction for $31 million. None of that money goes into the science. None of that money goes into paying scientists. So we can put food on the table. No, it's like, it's exploitative. It's just crass and gross. And it makes it so that fossils end up not in a place where they can be studied by scientists, but instead, you know, where they're just lining the pockets of already wealthy people. Yeah, it's not great. Anyway. And who owns the rights of a fossil, actually? The landowners or Tannerim? We'll get to that, because we actually discussed that here in this video.
Recently, the people of Mongolia have been trying to kind of take hold of their heritage and make sure that fossils from their country are not being illegally exported and sold. That had happened in the case of Nicolas Cage's purchase. And I believe it was seized by Interpol and actually taken back to the country of Mongolia, where it rightfully belongs. So I think it's a perfect example of kind of how shady these deals often are. And if you're trying to buy dinosaur fossils, realize that there's a lot of kind of difficult things going on in terms of morality and in terms of law. These are not smart purchases to make.
David, moving away from this, I think, rather hideous illegal trade.
Todd Minnesota says falls under mineral rights. Not really.
Tell us
We'll
about
talk about
the
why.
proper use of dinosaur bones. Tell me about your passion. When you're given a skeleton, you're given a bone, how do you react to it and what do you do with it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on T-Rex digs in Montana, which is where both Stan and Shen originally came from. And, you know, it's that discovery. I was working for a public...
Actually, was Stan from... I thought Stan was from South Dakota. Anyway.
Institution, so now this T-Rex is on display actually in Los Angeles. And it's that kind of feeling that you're the first person to look at this ever, because there weren't people around when dinosaurs were around, of course. But uncovering something that's 66, 67 million years old, and finding out all that information. And actually, one of the problems with treating skeletons like a sculpture and having it in your foyer of a private company or a private house is that it is just a skeleton. If things are excavated properly, you're looking at the whole environment.
HD, yeah.
You're picking up little bits of information from the sediment around, what the environment was like, what other animals are around, and it's just so much more than just a skeleton. It's that whole entire picture. And what we do in Norfolk is, because we don't have any dinosaurs here, but we do have mammoths. As you know, it's one of the best places in the world to find mammoth fossils. And we encourage responsible fossil collecting. And in the UK, that's not enshrined in law, as would be if you found, say, an archaeological treasure. If you found gold coins, there's laws in place to look after that, the Treasures Act. So we have to do it kind of ourselves, and it's a little bit, think of it like the Countryside Code. There are certain things...
That's got to be a thing in the UK that I'm not aware of. The Countryside Code? We don't have that here.
You shouldn't be digging into cliffs. It's dangerous anyway. We've got sites of special scientific interest where you need planning permission to dig in there. But it's also then about sharing your finds. Take it to the local museum. They're not going to take it off you. They might take it for a while to study, and then you get it back. And that's a good way of doing it.
Let me just go back to Danny for a moment. Danny, in the United States, do you have a proper legal environment to protect these bones and fossils?
It's a little bit complicated here in the United States. Unfortunately, if a fossil is found on private land, unfortunately from the perspective of paleontologists, then it's the property of the landowner, and they can do with it what they please. They could donate to a museum, or they could give it to their dog to chew on. Regardless of the scientific importance of whatever the find might be, ultimately it belongs to the landowner. If it's from private land, if it's from public land, the sorts of lands that I work with, Bureau of Land Management land, state lands, then it belongs to the people of the United States, and it needs to be held in the public trust, held in perpetuity so that scientists can study it and the public can enjoy it. And that's what paleontologists like us think should happen for every scientifically important fossil. They're a benefit to all of humanity. They're part of our collective natural heritage. They belong in a museum.
Danny Anduza and Professor David Waterhouse. Happy digging to you both. Thank you very much for being on GB News.
It's been a pleasure.
Well,
thank you.
Leonardo da Vinci drew it, H.G. Wells described it, and Winston Churchill ordered it to be built. The tank.
Yeah, anyway, here's that video right there for you. But yeah. Anyway, like I said in that video, in the U.S., if fossils are found on private land, the private landowner can do whatever they want with them. It could be the most scientifically important dinosaur specimen ever found, but the landowner could legally just, grind it up into gravel if they felt like it. We do not have laws protecting fossils on private land in the U.S. Just don't exist, which I find heartbreaking. But on federal lands, or on state lands, then there are different laws that apply, because those lands belong to us collectively as Americans, and so those fossil resources need to be protected. They need to go into either a state repository, in the case of state lands, or sometimes with state lands too, they need to go to a federal repository like they do for federal lands. So when I was working this summer out in Utah on a Bureau of Land Management land, like in Here, for
Like
instance.
this. I'm streaming right now via satellite. There's the Starlink dish right there. And
Out here in Utah.
yeah,
This is
wanted to do
federal
something
land,
unique
public
to
land.
kind of not just tell, but show people how dinosaur paleontology works. How do we find dinosaurs? How do we dig them up? How do we get them out of the ground and back to the laboratory? That's what this is all about. So welcome, welcome, everybody. And
Yeah. So all of the fossils that we dug up this summer out there in Utah or out in Wyoming, all of those will end up in a public fossil repository where they will exist for as long as there is a United States. You know, those fossils are federally protected. The idea is that even hundreds of years into the future, hopefully, people will still be able to go and study those fossils. Future paleontologists will be able to work on those. They're almost a sacred object, I guess, in a governmental sense. We know it's going to be there hundreds of years from now. So yeah. And yeah, I do plan on doing more streams from the field this summer. That's exactly right, Lenina. Very excited about that. Yeah. And, anyway, yeah. And Tony is my baby says, do you think humans should leave fossils in the ground so they can be found by a future civilization that doesn't want to destroy everything? I mean, we're already leaving bones in the ground, Tony is my baby. Many of those are like chicken bones. But, yeah, that's already definitely a thing. Who knows, maybe future paleontologists, if they can't find written records of human civilization, they will think that this was some golden age of chickens. You know, chickens ruled the world at this time. I don't know. Yeah, there's actually an interesting book about this too, which I haven't finished yet. Where did I put it? But it's called, there we go. Footprints by David Ferrier. In Search of Future Fossils. I need to finish this. I've not had a lot of reading time lately. I've been very busy.
Imagine that mammals would still be small creatures like
And Blaze, thank you for the follow.
wouldn't be here.
Welcome to Paleontologizing.
Lope tells me you're one of these archaeologist fellas.
Well, he's pretty near the mark. Actually, I'm a paleontologist.
Oh.
We dig deeper.
Yogurt Garrel.
Raiders would also like to dig deeper.
Holy cow, Yogurt Garrel, thank you for the raid. How did your stream go, Yogurt Garrel? And what were you up to? Holy moly. Yogurt Garrel, let's go, Gert. Yes. Astro Canuck, Yogurt Garrel, Vibe Solo, Dr. Ram MD. Flipsy, Fiona, how are you all doing? Welcome back to Paleontologizing. It's great to have you here. I had the pleasure of meeting Yogurt Garrel in person at TwitchCon in Las Vegas back in October. She is a wonderful human being. She plays Tetris and does other stuff. She does IRL streams walking around up there in Canada looking at birds, living dinosaurs. Go give her a follow right now. Thank you for the raid, Yogurt Garrel. I really appreciate that. Thank you kindly. And I hope your weekend is off to a good start. Yeah. No, thank you, Yogurt Girl. Thank you for your raid. Yeah, that was somehow 3 months ago. I know, right, Astro Canuck? More than 3 months ago, right? November, I guess it was 3 months ago, yeah. Anyway, it's good to see you too, Astro Canuck. Hope you're doing well, Tom. It's good to see you. Anyway, and Slayer Darth says, do you get paid for your media or TV appearances, or is it pro bono? You making a pun there, Slayer Darth? Bono, bones, fossils? No, I've literally never been paid for a media appearance. I've done a few, and they've taken a long time. Sometimes I've had to stay up until like 3 in the morning. No, we don't get paid as scientists. Politicians get paid. Like, political talking heads, they often get paid. Scientists usually don't get paid anything. which is crummy because we're usually overworked and underpaid. Yeah. Which is why I've got plans for this year. One of my New Year's resolutions for this year is to have other scientists, mostly other paleontologists, as guests on this channel as the year progresses, to promote their own research, to talk about what they're passionate about, to answer viewer questions. But I want to pay them. And that is why I've been gunning so hard for the Partner Plus program. If we can get that new revenue split, if we can get a 70-30 revenue split instead of a 50-50 one, I will absolutely be able to afford to pay paleontologist guests on here, like at least a $50 honorarium, to make it hopefully a little bit worth their time. I'm not wealthy or anything. I can't write them a gigantic check, but I feel like $50 US hopefully is at least a token of appreciation for appearing as a guest on this channel. And so that's why we're gunning for the Partner Plus program there. And we are 2/3 of the way there. November was successful. December was successful. And now it looks like January might be successful too, in which case we'll have it. So, yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And Dr. Ram MD says 50 eagle bucks.
For knowing what dinosaurs looked like, we now need to know how they lived.
And Yogurt Garrel,
Paleo dance.
thank you for those 32 months. I do really appreciate that, Yogurt Garrel. Thank you for your ongoing support. That is stellar, and I really appreciate it, Yogurt Garrel. Thank you. Good stuff. Dr. Ram MD says 50 eagle bucks. It's like 90 maple dollars. Is it really? Is the exchange rate that unfavorable to Canadians right now? Yowza. And Codmo says, if I had $10 million in the bank, I would have no problem giving a few dozen paleontologists at least 10,000. I appreciate that, Codmos. I do. Yeah. Anyway, I am, and that is so many months, Yogurt Carol. Holy cow. Thank you for that. Thanks for keeping me here on the air, Yogurt Girl, and thanks for contributing to that Partner Plus goal push right there. Here, let me show everybody. This is what I'm working on right now. We made the goal for November and December, and this month we are on our way. We're currently at 75 out of 350. If we can get to 350 recurring subscriptions, unfortunately that doesn't include gift subs or prime subs. It's only like recurring subscriptions.
I can see that my 50,000 a year has been well spent.
Like that. Holy cow, Astro Canuck. Thank you very much, Tom. Holy moly. Do I appreciate that? Astro Canuck, thank you so much. That's 6 points right there toward this. Did you just upgrade right now, or have you been contributing to this so far at Tier 3? I really appreciate that, Astro Canuck. Thank you. That is lovely. It really is. Did upgrade right now? Astro Canuck, thank you very, very much for that. Holy cow. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Astro. Holy moly, thank you very, very much. Good stuff. Fantastic. Again, if we can reach that goal, I will be able to actually pay other paleontologists a little bit of an honorarium for appearances on here. And I would like to live in a world where scientists are paid to appear, you know, in media, just like politicians are, just like political talking heads are, just like other media figures are. I would like that same courtesy to be applied to scientists. So I'm, you know, I guess doing the Gandhi thing, right? Yeah. Yeah, we must be the change we wish to see in the world. I'm trying to emulate that here. I'm trying to be the change I wish to see by, you know, paying other scientists. I want to see this become the norm, you know? I understand that some people think like, oh, science should be above money and we shouldn't, you know, demand money to, you know, promote our work in the media or anything, but it's like, wake up. I know scientists who literally, like, live in their cars and then they go to work in the laboratory every day. That's unjust, you know? Let's stop normalizing this idea that science is a poverty cult, because it's not. You know? Yeah. Yeah, people got bills to pay. Exactly, Anakin Gabriel. Exactly. So anyway. Yeah. Money is important. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that I make... Science takes time and money. Absolutely, Astro Canuck. It's nuts that I actually make more money here on Twitch, you know, enough to survive on, which is brilliant. I'm making more money streaming here on Twitch, making a modest living here than I have ever made, you know, in an official capacity as a paleontologist. I've never made more than $10 an hour as a paleontologist in any of the different official jobs that I've had. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there. And especially living in a Californian city, right? Well, I've been able to find relatively inexpensive rent, Cosmos. So it's not been that bad. And honestly, the highest I've ever been paid was as a teacher here in California. That's more than I make now, you know? Generally, when you live in a really expensive place, you tend to get paid more. Unless you have, like, a minimum wage job, then... Oof, then that's not good. But teachers will make more in California than they will in a place like Oklahoma or Nebraska or Montana, you know? So, yeah. Yeah. And also, locally, our minimum wage in, like, Berkeley or Oakland or San Francisco is going to be around, like, $18 an hour. Because that's, well, it's, you know, proportional to how much things cost there. So, yeah.
Myosaurs always ate their vegetables.
And Polly Willow, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Yeah. And Jody Fish says, here in Indiana, several of our teachers have to have second jobs when school is out. Yeah. I know that feeling, Jody Fish. I've worked a couple jobs before at the same time. Yeah. And Science Stream says, we never calculated our hourly rate in grad school and postdoc because it would be super disheartening. Yeah. Holy cow. Were you unionized at that time? Because I know that helps a lot. I had friends and colleagues back at Montana State who were working adjunct professor jobs. So, like, they're not a full professor, but they still had to have students. Like, master's and PhD students, which is not how it's supposed to work, but the administration didn't care. Some of these people were being paid like $9,000 a year to work more than 40 hours a week as a research scientist with all of the responsibilities inherent within that. And they had to be an adjunct professor. And they had to continuously bring in research funding or else they would lose their job. And I remember calculating that it came out to like $2.13 an hour or something like that they were making when you factor everything in. It was bad. It was bad. Yeah. And you not unionized and your past institutes still have no union. That is really distressing, Science Streams. Oh boy. Well, shoot. Here's hoping that we see change there in the year 2024, you know? Get that bread, you know? Let's do it. Anywho. Obtain the yeast. Yes, Dr. MMD. Yes. Yeah. And Lordy says Danny is super frugal with what he makes. California City or no. Lordy knows. Before I moved in here, I was eating like, oh man, a lot of ramen, a lot of discount tortillas. Lordy was kind of appalled, actually. I eat a lot better now that I live here with Lordy and Ios. But, yeah. That's why I gotta make sure that I'm exercising more than I currently am, because shoot. I might have a tendency to inflate
Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
laterally if I don't get some better exercise. Yogurt Garrel, Luke. Yogurt Garrel, you did not have to do that, but thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that, Yogurt Garrel. Thank you for your generosity there. That is excellent. I appreciate it very much. Yeah. Anyway, and yeah, I'm working on it, Sparky Bugwash. I'm working on it. Reminds me, I forgot to do my push-ups this morning. I'll try and do that after stream, if I remember. Thank you again, Yogurt Girl. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with good ramen. This wasn't good ramen. It is. It's not... I know. You can go to a restaurant and order ramen. I remember the first time I ever saw that, I'm like, what? They have... You can go to a restaurant and get ramen? I thought it was like going to a restaurant and ordering protein powder or toast or something, you know? But no, like, they make really good ramen in restaurants. We didn't have that in Montana where I lived. But anyway, yeah. No, it was the 13-cent ramen that I was having. Bulk College ramen. There you go, HD. Yeah. And Science Stream says, right? See? Fellow scientist, Balent here, had the same revelation that I did. Did that blow your mind? There was a gourmet ramen place near Emory, and I didn't go till last year because I thought it was an ironic place. Yeah. Yeah, like it's like having gourmet toast, you know? What? But no, I'm sure like if there is actually a place that has gourmet toast, they're gonna put a lot of fancy stuff onto it. And it's actually gonna be a worthwhile, you know, very tasty, very filling meal. I've never been to a ramen place, but or maybe Lordy and Ice have taken me one before, I forget. I think they have. Anyway, I assume it's the same thing there where they put all kinds of wonderful stuff into it. And the noodles are probably higher quality too. You know? But gourmet toast is real. That avocado toast, man. I know, right? Science streams. Must be nice. Anyway, the point of this is we're gunning for Partner Plus right now because I would like scientists in general to be able to afford things like gourmet toast or non-dollar store ramen, you know? And thank you everybody for helping us get to that. I still got to come up with some sort of event or something to do if and when we achieve that. Maybe we'll have a pizza party or some kind of special stream event, but I'm you know, this noggin is the interior of here. It's going a mile a minute trying to come up with something, you know? Yeah.
Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
Science_streams gifted a tier 1 sub to Kinamara.
And holy cow, Balint.
Gift subs in the channel.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Balint. Holy cow. Oh, man. Oh, I appreciate that, Belen. Thank you. And Kinamara, you enjoy, huh? Thank you, Science Streams. But yeah, my mind is going a mile a minute right now trying to come up with some sort of special event. Maybe you can help me, chat. That's me right now. Yeah, all this ramen talk reminds me that I just made a hat with yarn in a color called Spicer. Oh, very nice, Lenina. How'd the hat turn out? Nice. 100 push-ups per slice? I can do that, Anakin Gabriel. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Why don't we get into some fossil discussion here, shall we? And Metazooathon? We could do that, Golganek. By the way, I don't think... Yeah, our new episode of... Or our new Metazoo entry is not going to be ready yet. Remind me in a bit, and we'll get into that. But we were talking about this the other day.
In the harsh badlands of Montana,
and I figured we might as well get back into it.
Ever seen before is unearthed. From the very moment of discovery, dinosaur experts struggle with the question of its identity. Looking for answers as to how this animal lived and died, they set out on a quest to solve an ancient puzzle.
What is this animal?
This is the Rosetta Stone of meat-eating dinosaurs.
And there is no such a thing as a Rosetta Stone in science.
This is
That's, of course, my old boss, Jack Horner here. Yeah, and I love how they're doing this. I know, right, Bullet? This is from 2006. The video is called The Mystery Dinosaur. Here's a link in the chat for you there. But this is about the whole Nano-Tyrannus controversy that's been raging this week. We had a whole stream about this the other day. When was that? Wednesday, I think? And we just started off this video. I figure we'll continue this for today. I'm going to have to end today's stream a little bit early because I'm meeting a friend over in San Francisco and we're going to go see the new Godzilla film. So I got to make sure I'm on time for that. So I started early today, and we're not doing Millionaire today because I don't know if we're going to have time, so we're going to continue with this.
An exploration full of intrigue and uncertainty. What seems obvious one moment isn't so the next. What impact will this creature have, and what secrets will it reveal that could change paleontology forever?
No quiz? Yep, Trek Nerd. You all get an A.
Follow the adventure of one of the most remarkable scientific finds of the last century.
Oh boy.
Follow us on the trail.
Jane is pretty cool, but I don't know if she's
the mystery dinosaur.
Most remarkable. Anyway, how is the audio right now? Is it at a good level? Let me know. Sounds good to you? Thank you, Ginamara. Thank you, thank you.
Millions of years before a man will walk the earth, the death of this creature sets the stage for a modern-day controversy.
R.I.P. that Tyrannosaur.
In the rugged, fossil-rich terrain.
Hey, Otter, welcome. How you doing, Otter?
A team of mostly amateur paleontologists who have never been in the field before.
And Ragnarocker says, why are Bro's legs as long as his body? Because that's how juvenile Tyrannosaurs are. Shoot, this is, Yeah. For juvenile Tyrannosaurus, they've got extraordinarily long legs like this. You know? They would have been very fast animals. But that's, those are changes in, again, what we call ontogeny. Chat, you're correct. Yeah.
Ontogeny.
Yep. So ontogeny, that's a word that we have for the changes that an organism undergoes during its lifespan.
Ontogeny.
So as it's growing and maturing, the changes that happen, those are changes in ontogeny. So that's why I've got the Pokemon music here, is actually in Pokemon, they would call this evolution, right? But it's not evolution, it's just changes in ontogeny. Pokemon kind of lied to you. Sorry to break it to you, but Pokemon lied to you. It's disappointing, but it's true. And the Pokemon don't evolve, they ontogenize. There you go, Lenina. Yeah. And I love that that we know they ate different foods than the adults. Yeah, for Gorgosaurus at least, science streams. We actually have evidence of this, that through ontogeny, Gorgosaurus seems to have actually changed. There we go. A Tyrannosaur was found fossilized, and so was its last meal. Uh-oh. Well, hang on. Let's try this instead. There we go. Yeah. This is really cool stuff. So this is a young Gorgosaurus, which is from the same family as T-Rex. It's also a Tyrannosaur. And it's eating this little leggy... Well, it's eating the legs off of this
No sign of disgrace or
Oviraptorosaur here.
In fact, in a world full of changing environments and occasional catastrophe, all species eventually become extinct.
Vega Altair Deneb, thank you so much for that tier 2 sub. 6 months there. I really appreciate that, Vega. Thank you. Good stuff. Yeah. This is the new finding that Belint was referring to there. And I am thrilled that Michael Greshko has been doing these articles for the New York Times. Good for him. I've corresponded with him before, and he's quoted me in some articles, and he's a stand-up guy. I really appreciate his work, and he's good at what he does. Anyway, some 75.3 million years ago, a dinosaur swallowed the Cretaceous equivalent of a turkey drumstick. It would turn out to be the predator's final feast. Within days of eating that haunch, the dinosaur, a juvenile Gorgosaurus, that stood about 5.5 feet tall at the hip, ended up dead in a river. By a stroke of geological luck, sediments rapidly covered much of the carcass and protected the dinosaur and its dinner from decay. The resulting fossil, unveiled Friday in the journal Science Advances, is the first Tyrannosaur skeleton ever found with stomach contents still preserved inside. Researchers say the fossil provides the first direct evidence that tyrannosaurs changed what they ate as they aged, which paleontologists had predicted from existing fossil evidence. So, changes in diet through ontogeny. That's pretty exciting. Dinosaurs changed a dramatic amount as they grew and matured. Individual dinosaurs, like, if we didn't know that one is a juvenile and one is an adult, we would assume that they were totally different species. And indeed, that has happened many, many times. And I would argue that's what's happened here, too, with this critter. But let's get back into it.
Out of time. It is the last day of their 2-week expedition, and they have little to show for their efforts. But luck is on their side when 2 members of the group find several toe bones and lower extremities from a carnivorous dinosaur.
Isn't this cool, Ensign Rick? Yeah.
Well, right now, all that we really know about it is that it's a meat-eating dinosaur, a theropod. From the build of the bones, we believe it's something lightly built, something that was probably a pretty fast runner. But we really don't know beyond that what kind of meat-eating dinosaur that we're dealing with.
At first, the team believes they may have found a Tyrannosaurus rex, but the slightness of the bones baffles them.
Basically what we're doing is winterizing this site, getting the bones ready. We're giving them a good thick coat of Vinac.
So Vinac is a polyvinyl acetate glue, PVA glue. It's almost kind of like wood glue, except well, it's different from wood glue. Chemically, it's similar, but it feels very different.
Glue is cheap.
And there you go, Pipcat. Yeah. Yeah. Is it cheap? Vinac is actually kind of expensive, honestly. But, yeah. So you've got these little plastic beads that you dissolve in acetone. There we go. So they are super, super tiny. You can hold them in your hand like that. It's almost like plastic dust or plastic sand. And you dissolve that in acetone in nail polish remover. And yeah, you can, it's very, very thin, and so you can paint it over a fossil and it'll actually absorb down into it and strengthen it from within, because the acetone evaporates away and leaves the plastic within to strengthen the fossil from within. It's very cool. But yeah, but for the purpose of function, Vinac is worth its weight in gold in the field? Absolutely, Jody Fish, yes. It's essential. Yeah. Good stuff.
Gives polyvinyl acetate crystals and an acetone mixture that preserves the bones. We'll cover them with foil, replace the overburden that we've removed, and come back in the spring and hope for the best.
Because they've run out of time and it's late in the dig season, the team must weatherproof the bones and reluctantly leave them, anxious to return the following year.
They're going to make what we call a winter jacket.
Working quickly and efficiently is of the essence as they...
No, they didn't make a winter jacket. Ah, shoot. At least do a winter jacket. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Prepare the site for the harsh Montana winter.
I hope they're just doing this for the cameras and that they actually put a proper winter jacket over it. But, you know, I don't know. It all turned out happy in the end because they got the specimen out. Jade is their nickname for it. Yeah. And what the heck is a winter jacket? It's like a field jacket that you just put over the top over the winter, Ragnarocker. So, what we do to preserve, well, to bring fossils back from the field is, we do this.
After a bone is discovered in the rock, the top surface is uncovered, just enough so that the aerial extent of the bone can be seen. The bone is then pedestaled so that a protective plaster jacket can be put around the bone. Here, a large femur is being readied for jacketing.
So there's a dinosaur thigh bone, and then you put a layer of separator over the top, damp paper towels in this case.
Placed over the bone is a separator to protect it from the plaster. Strips of burlap are soaked in plaster of Paris and placed over the bone and rock to form a jacket.
Yep. And so this is what we call a field jacket. So when we're actually taking the fossil out, back to the laboratory, this is how we do it. We build this protective cocoon around it to keep it from crumbling. And we bring it back to the laboratory. But if you don't have time to dig up the whole thing, then you just basically do this over the top. This is what we call a winter jacket. Like, when we just build it over the top and then you bury it again, that's called a winter jacket. Yeah.
The plaster has hardened, the pedestal can be undermined and the jacket flipped over. The same process is then used to seal the bottom of the jacket. It is now ready for transport back to the lab where it can be extracted from the rock.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm kind of astonished that they didn't do that in this case, but maybe they're just putting on an act for the cameras. Maybe the camera crew was only out there for one day, and so they had to, like, pantomime, you know, closing up the site or something. I don't know. It's like a bone splint, kind of, Pimpcat. By the way, I made a bunch of jackets this summer in the field. And, it seems to have been pretty popular. People liked that a lot, which I thought was cool. Let's see. Yeah, like here. There's me in Wyoming back in June of 2023. jacketing this hadrosaur limb bone. Yeah, so you take those strips of burlap that are soaked in plaster. And I'm astonished at how, like, wet and yeah, people kept saying, oh, plaster ASMR, plaster ASMR. I didn't realize that the mic that I had in the field really emphasized these squishy noises. Because it doesn't sound like that in real life. But the mic really picked up on those for whatever reason. There we are.
Sorry if I seem neglectful of chat right now, but this is something I need to focus on. There we go. Got that air pocket right there. Make sure it's nice and tight.
And HD, very funny, HD and HB, but we call it a jacket, not a cast. A cast means something different in paleontology. A cast is a replica of a bone that you make by molding and casting. This is called a jacket, a field jacket, or a plaster jacket, because it's made of plastic. Yeah, anyway. Shy Pletz, how are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. Haven't seen that name here before. Welcome, welcome. They want to know, do you think it's worth being a scientist outside of the USA? If even there you're getting $10 an hour? It depends. I don't know. All the scientists that I know became scientists because they're passionate about science. Because they wouldn't be happy doing anything else. In other countries, some scientists are paid better than we are here in the US. I don't know. In the US, it's difficult because, you know, we live in this kind of libertarian hellhole where, you know, the almighty dollar rules everything, and, you know, we have almost zero social services, and we have to pay for our own healthcare and stuff like that, and, you know, you can literally go bankrupt and lose your house because you went to the hospital, you know? In sane countries, that doesn't happen. You know, in real proper countries, that sort of thing does not occur. And so I think in the US, American scientists are uniquely disadvantaged in a lot of ways, I think. As Americans are uniquely disadvantaged in general. In a lot of different ways. I'm laughing right now so I don't cry. You know how it is. But yeah. Anyway, does that make sense? I hope it does. Yeah. And Danny Doom, I know, right, Lordy? I'm sorry. It's just real talk here. And Sparky Pugwash, yeah, paleontologists do have it better in Canada. In general, they do. That's why some of my colleagues have moved up to Canada and are now working as paleontologists there. Yeah. Oh, Trek Nerd, I'm so sorry to hear that. But yeah, I know people who have passed away also because they didn't have health insurance and just couldn't afford to go to the doctor here in the US. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. And Drumheller, Alberta, that is one of the world's greatest places to find fossils. Dr. MMD, absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of Canada's premier dinosaur town, right? The town of Drumheller really celebrates that. But the Royal Tyrrell Museum of Paleontology is there in Drumheller. Yeah. Literally an hour's drive from you. Aren't you lucky, Dr. Ram? Well, holy cow. When's the last time you went to the Tyrrell? I hope it was recently. If not, you should go soon. Holy cow. Lucky you. Yeah. Let's continue.
Today, the conditions in southeastern Montana are barren and inhospitable. But it was not always this way.
In the late Cretaceous, Montana was a very lush, temperate tropical environment, much more like the Gulf Coast states we see now, Florida in particular. There were ferns and cycads and sequoias and some other primitive plants. We also see fossil crocodiles.
And it's Scott Williams there. So Scott Williams now works at Museum of the Rockies, where I used to work. In fact, when we did a live stream from Museum of the Rockies a couple years ago, this would have been summer of 2021, I think. While we were live streaming there in the museum, in the Hall of Horns and Teeth, up there in the public display areas, Scott Williams actually came up and said hi, and we talked for a while Lordy and Ios took the camera. So it's cool to be able to catch up with Scott. He joined up at Museum of the Rockies in Bozeman, Montana, just before I left. I think it was in 2018.
Turtles, fossil rays and skates, so things that you don't see now, and things that we can see by interpreting the fossil record.
These lush settings were an ideal habitat for a myriad of animals, including dinosaurs. But it wouldn't last. In May
well, I mean, there was a big asteroid.
The crew returns to excavate the skeleton.
There's burlap there.
Paleontology has a rich history of amateurs finding important fossils, and this was no exception.
In fact, actually, I want to grab that. Here,
Just finding important.
Grab that time code. There you go.
Paleontology.
If I've got time this year, it'd be nice to do some, like, maybe some TikTok videos or something. I don't know. I keep being told that I need to do this kind of thing. But I think that here we go. We'll put that in here. Amateur fossil finds. And Medibs, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. I feel a certain obligation to try and dispel myths and misconceptions about dinosaur science, and one of them is that you get a lot of, I don't know. It seems that people in the general public, maybe who consume too much YouTube or TikTok, they're like, well, I'm not really sure how legit dinosaurs are. Like, are they really real? Because why doesn't, like, a normal person ever find a dinosaur? Why is it always paleontologists who find them? Little suspicious, if you ask me. Holy cow, how do you not know that the majority, maybe the majority of important dinosaur finds that have ever been made unexpectedly have been made by amateurs? You know? By amateur fossil collectors. By ranchers, by hikers and dog walkers and hunters and bird watchers, and this is one of those situations here where this Tyrannosaurus specimen was discovered by non-professionals. And so it would be cool to make like a supercut of every time this shows up in a documentary, like, you know, whether it's the Wonkel Rex in Montana, whether it's William Walker, a plumber, you know, discovering baryonyx. You know, right here.
My name's William Walker. I'm a plumber by trade. I often come to this part of Surrey to do a bit of fossil collecting.
Yep.
And one day I found a dinosaur.
Just take make a supercut of all these clips like this from documentaries and just show how frequently important dinosaur specimens are found by regular people. You know, not by professional paleontologists. You know? But yeah. Anyway, yeah. And Medib says, I can go to the south coast and pick up fossils off the beach. Yeah, there you go, Medibs. Weren't you saying that you live near the Jurassic Coast? Yeah. See, for people who spend altogether too much time on the internet, on places like TikTok, they don't really go outside, they might not have that real world experience, or might not realize that other people have that real world experience. You know, when your whole worldview is based on what you see on TikTok, then you're going to be severely impoverished in that sense, you know? You're not going to have a sense of how the world actually works. So anyway, I would like to be able to make a video there, and it's good that we've got this clip now here too. That's why I recorded this in my notes app there. Yeah.
In May 2000.
And Science Streams says, I think it may be a science communication issue. I would agree, Science Streams, yeah. In the same way that in the molecular sciences, you never hear about the accidental discoveries, like vitamin C, only the deliberate stories. I like that a lot. Science Streams, yeah. Yeah, and again, I guess this is me trying to correct that by trying to be a better science communicator there. It's pretty remarkable how many important discoveries in science are just purely serendipitous, you know? Where you go to the laboratory or you go out into the field and then you find something that is just completely unexpected. You know, you did not intend to make some sort of a discovery. Maybe a general member of the public, they make some sort of important discovery and they never realized. They didn't go out there with the express purpose of finding something that would shake up science and would add to our understanding of how the universe works. And then they do. So many things are like that. So many discoveries in science are kind of accidental. And I think I would agree, Belinda. That's a story that needs to be told better. And I'd like to be part of that, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. I could go to the coast, but I never leave the house, Midibs. Well, shoot, I hope this year you can find yourself outdoors a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, there you go, Alex Vixen. That's a good example. Yeah. Tactile says nothing is accidental, it's destiny. Sure. Yeah. In hindsight, you can say that. I don't know. I don't believe in destiny. What you would call destiny, I would call accidental. You know? But yeah. Yeah. Let's continue here.
2002, the crew returns to excavate the skeleton. Paleontology has a rich history of amateurs finding important fossils, and this was no exception.
Oh yeah, look at that, gorgeous!
As one of the volunteers, Carol Tuck
Shyplets, thank you for the follow.
Dinosaur.
Holy cow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. And Dinosaur Dave, Sci-Fi Dinosaur Test. Maybe we'll do this on Monday, Dinosaur Dave. That sounds like fun. Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. Thank you, Dinosaur Dave, for putting in the work to put that together. Let's do that on Monday, shall we? Yeah. Good stuff. U.S. lab on the ISS. There you go, Jody Fish. Okay, you got me, Jody Fish. It's gonna be fun. Let's try and do that Monday, Dinosaur Dave. Let's double check and make sure I don't have anything going on scheduled for Monday. Oh, I do. It's Alfred Russel Wallace's birthday on Monday, so let's do it Tuesday or Wednesday then. Yeah, because we're gonna be talking about the other guy who discovered evolution. You know, Darwin gets a lot of the attention, but somebody else discovered natural selection at the same time. His name was Alfred Russel Wallace. We'll be talking all about him on Monday. So let's do your dinosaur sci-fi thing on Tuesday, which I guess would be Wednesday for you, Dinosaur Dave. Does that work? Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, let's continue.
How she ended up with the group that made the discovery.
My husband decided we
Yeah, Wallace, exactly, Science Street.
And
Hang on. People were making a big deal about this quarter here. This is a U.S. quarter, short for $quarter. It's got this bald guy on it. I think that's a wig, isn't it? George Washington? Anyway, that's about this big. They put that there for scale. I would like to say, you could tell this is an amateur crew because if they were professionals, they'd have a scale bar to use in the field. But, a quarter works too. It's a standard diameter. Were they out of bananas? Yeah, there you go, Dinosaur Dave. Yeah, Melanina. And Trek Nerd. 3 people all making the same joke there at the same time. Yeah. And Moosey Fate says, I think everyone wore wigs, bald or not. Yeah, I think you're probably right. George Washington may have had hair at the time. Didn't he have red hair? Wasn't he a ginger? I want to say he was a redhead early on. Yeah, look at this early portrait of him. Yeah. I've heard from multiple, historians and scholars of history that, George Washington was considered, the handsomest man in, the 13 colonies. Which is interesting. Yeah. Neither here nor there. Let's continue.
As one of the volunteers, Carol Tuck remembers how she ended up with the group that made the discovery.
my husband decided we were going on the dig out to Montana. And I wasn't opposed to it, but it wasn't my kind of trip. I was a little leery
got dragged
about,
out there.
What it was going to be like.
This poor woman.
It ended up being really a lot of fun, and it was an interesting group of people.
The team includes an assortment of participants from varied backgrounds, each hoping to gain hands-on experience working in the field. These volunteers are equipped with curiosity and enthusiasm, though most with no expertise in science.
And Chris T.S., I would agree with that,
to find a significant fossil to take back to their museum. Little do they know, the odds are heavily stacked against them.
So we returned to the dig site in the summer. I had 12 volunteers with me who had never dug for dinosaur bones before. We spent 3 solid weeks using picks and shovels, working our way down through 12 feet of overburden to the bone-bearing layer.
Well, that 3 weeks' time told us one thing, that this was not fun work. This was kind of the miserable part of it. We had extreme temperatures, long days, people were getting tired, people were getting frustrated, and we thought there's got to be a quicker, a faster way, an easier way to do this. And we found one.
Oh boy, I used an excavator. Oof. I've personally never used an excavator like this in the field just because with the right people and, and the right tools, what Denver Fowler used to call a super pick, you can do an awful lot. And you can do it in a much more careful, studied, precise way than something like an excavator can do, and I've got my super pick here, actually. Let me see if I think I know where it is. I think it's over in the garage. Let me go grab that real quick, and I'll show you. I'll show you a tool that is more powerful than a backhoe, or an excavator, or a bulldozer. Let me go grab this. Just a second here.
Glue is cheap.
There we go. This is an Estwing Geo-Paleopic, as it says right there. Using this tool, a paleontologist can move mountains, or at least hills. This, and some shovels, maybe some buckets, depending on how far you have to throw the scree. While digging up dinosaurs, removing what we call overburden. Overburden is all the crud that's on top, all of the rock that you need to move in order to get down to where the bones are. That's called overburden. A good crew, using these and using some shovels, can do incredible work in removing overburden. I remember in 2012 working with a Museum of the Rockies crew up in the Hell Creek Formation when we were digging at the Yoshi's Trike site, when we were digging up this specimen right here. The postcrania from that. This big Triceratops. There's me there circa 2013 while the skeleton was being mounted. The Yoshi's Trike site. There's my jacket art on it. We cleared away this huge area. It was probably like 40 feet wide and like 20 feet deep or something like that. Let me see if I can find you an image from summer 2011. That might work. There we go. Yeah. So this is the quarry right here, and this is where most of these Triceratops bones were found. They're under the tarps. The tarps are, you see, it's kind of difficult to see right here, but there's a back wall along here. You know, as tall as a man. That's how far down we dug. Going out to here. So we cleared away all of this using picks and shovels and some jackhammers too. We did have jackhammers, electric ones, hooked up to some gas generators. But we basically did all of this by hand without the use of excavators or anything like that, you know? And it felt like quite the undertaking. We were very proud of ourselves for getting it done, but this is what you gotta do, you know? So yeah. They'd have been fortunate to have your crew back when they're building the pyramids. Moosey Fate, the people who built the pyramids were better paid than we were. And they had on-site medical care and all this other stuff. The workers who built the Egyptian pyramids, especially the Great Pyramid of Khufu, right? They were like elite, well-paid laborers. And they had good dental. They unironically did, Tommy Plodicus. Like, they actually had dental care there in ancient Egypt. Melissa in Denial could tell you about this. Let's get a shout out for Melissa. She is herself an archaeologist and Egyptologist, and she could tell you about, you know, how those laborers were paid who built the pyramids, and the kind of medical care that they received, and the special graves that were dug for them when inevitably some of them died, because there were workers who died on that. And they were like buried with honors right there near the pyramids, apparently. So anyway, yeah. And they had lots of beer too. Is that right, Midivs? They probably did, didn't they? Yeah. Which reminds me of this. This is my old boss, Jack Horner here. 130 cases of Rainier beer to construct the 1986 Rainier couch at Landslide Butte Camp on the Milk River. Left to right on the couch, Jack Horner at Dusty Dino, Bob Makala, and Jack Horner's father, John Horner. Our motto, it takes a lot of beer to dig up a dinosaur. So in this case, Jack Horner, this is, speaking of beer in the field. There's a kind of beer that we used to drink in the field called Rainier. Yeah. Rainier, or Rainier if you want to be fancy. Naturally brewed, mountain fresh beer. It's honestly not very good. But the wonderful thing about it is that it's not good whether it's cold or whether it's warm. So you don't really have to refrigerate it, you know? Whether you're drinking it ice cold or whether you're drinking it when it's been sitting in the sun, it's basically the same either way. And so it's been a favorite of paleontologists and geologists and probably wildlife biologists and other people who work outdoors in the Rocky Mountain West of the United States for a long time. Some people call it vitamin R. So Jack Horner, my old boss there in the red sleeveless t-shirt, he wrote to the company back in the 1980s. And he's like, hey, we really love your beer. It tastes the same if it's cold or if it's warm. Just wanted to let you know how much we appreciate your product. And they were so tickled by that they sent him a truckload of the stuff. Like, several pallets worth. And so they built a couch out of it. And they got swag, too. Like a big inflatable Rainier bottle and a good beer blimp right there. So yeah, beer camp. Isn't that great? Lovely. Yeah. So anyway, I'm not necessarily a beer guy myself, but I appreciate that. I'll drink beer if it's put in front of me. Delivered by Smokey and the Bandit? Might as well have been FLL. Yeah, there you go. Time to reach out to my people, says Blockman's Mustard. You're right, Blockman's Mustard. Maybe that'll be a 2024 agenda item. Yeah. Anywho, I don't know how we got on that, but back to the excavation of Jane, the Tyrannosaur.
The team uses a backhoe to carefully remove excess earth from around the site. Now they have a clear path to where the bones are buried.
They got through the overburden
Once
like this.
Once we got it there, things really quickened. I mean, we were able to get down to the bone layer, we were able to see what we had, and start working with picks and awls and really trying to figure out how much of this animal we had, because that was the million-dollar question.
As they continue to remove earth from around the skeleton, they believe they may have found something fairly complete, though they are cautiously optimistic.
So we got down to the bone-bearing layer, and things were looking pretty good for us at that point. We had a lot of bones. It looked like we had most of a dinosaur skeleton preserved at the site, but we weren't sure what kind of dinosaur this was, what kind of skeleton we had.
Mike had yet to realize what an exceptional find he and his team had made, and that it would be a long time before he or anyone else could positively identify the creature they had uncovered.
It's cool they got all this footage from years before. Sauropod. Yeah, it wasn't a sauropod, had it?
Located in the Custer National Forest,
that'd be even more exciting.
The team's camp offers a vastly different environment and a complete change of scenery from where they are excavating.
Yep.
Affectionately referred to as Camp Needmore, it's located over an hour's drive from the remote dig site.
So, I believe that this is outside of Ekalaka, Montana, and in Carter County, Montana. I think that's the case. Where the Dino Shindig is held every year nowadays. In Ekalaka.
It is here where the team examines and prepares some of the fossils in their makeshift field laboratory. As they
Was that Thomas Carr right there? Could be.
And prepares some of the fossils in their makeshift field laboratory. As they work with the bones, more questions are raised about their unusual discovery.
Looks
something
like Thomas
is
Carr.
very different about this animal.
Miss Vincent's bear and mountain lion territory? Oh yeah, shoot. I don't know if I've ever actually dug fossils in a place in, well, I guess, yeah. When I was digging up those fishes in Nevada, we weren't in bear territory at least, but it was mountain lion habitat. I don't think I've ever dug fossils in a place that wasn't mountain lion habitat. Yeah, yeah. Like when I was working in Utah this past year, Rebecca Hunt Foster was talking about how she had laid out like camera traps all over the place to see just like, you know, what was going on in that area, and also to try and catch some fossil smugglers. And it's like the mountain lions walking past the cameras. Cool stuff.
Brief respite from a long, dusty day lifts everyone's spirits. Hopes are high that when the team has unearthed a dinosaur, it will prove to be significant. Tomorrow begins the next stage of their journey.
Sparky Pugwash says, do you find bones from animals too? And the answer is yes. Yeah. Non-fossilized bones, bones from modern animals we find all the time out in the field. Just kind of, you know, drying in the sun on the surface of the ground. We find this all the time out there. In fact, sometimes they're even buried a little bit. Let me find you a photo. There we go. Here, let's open this here. This is a horse skull that I found while out prospecting for dinosaurs. Just, I guess this horse had fallen down into a ravine and died years before. And, yeah. Just trying to take some artsy shots there. So there's its skeleton. Lower jaws, rib cage, thoracic and lumbar vertebrae, and there's its pelvis is going to be in there. Yeah. Poor horse, but a cool skeleton. I know, right, Sparky Pugwash? Yeah. We see this kind of thing all the time out there in the field. And Denver Fowler actually had a habit of when we be out prospecting, looking for new sites, looking for new fossils out there, and we would find like you know, an animal skull, the skull of a bobcat or a coyote or especially deer, or even like a porcupine or something like that. If Denver found it, he would reach into his bag and he would pull out a little container full of plastic eyes. Here is Denver with, he doesn't have a skull here, but he's just, you know, a little plastic cowboy hat as well. And he would take those little plastic eyes, either taxidermy eyes like this or just little googly eyes, and he would carefully put them in the eye sockets of the skull and just leave it there and see if anybody else would find it. And if they found it, they knew that, oh shoot, Denver already prospected this area. So yeah. Anyway, good stuff. He would vandalize, not my term. Yeah, there you go, Lenina. An eye for detail, and it, yep. Yeah. Anyway, he would also sometimes, he would take, like, interesting rocks, and he'd bring them back to camp, and he'd be like, hey, John, this rock looks a lot like you. I brought it back for you. Or he would just take an awl and he would, like, scrawl rude phrases on rocks and leave them there. So he would know if somebody had prospected a certain area if they were angry with him when they came back. Yeah, you know, just stuff like that, you know? But yeah, the practice. There you go, Lenina. Yeah. Mr. Vet says, is that okay? It was all in good fun. Yeah, I don't think anybody was actually offended or anything. Yeah. Just a bit of mischief, you know? Directed at other members of the crew, and then we would dish it right back. But yeah. And have you found fossilized poop? All the time. Medibs, we call that coprolites, or fossil droppings. The ones from crocodiles in particular, crocodilian coprolites, were really common in the Hell Creek. And Denver was really good at finding them. They've got a really distinctive kind of coiled shape to them. And they look just like modern crocodile poops. So, yeah. What about owl poop? I can tell you a story. Not about owls specifically, but owls didn't live in the time of the dinosaurs. They evolved later, after the... during the age of mammals, owls evolved. During the Cenozoic. But, I've got another bird poop story for you. When we were out on the outcrop at microsites looking for very, very small fossils of ancient mammals and salamanders and lizards and, you know, fishes and crocodilian bones and stuff like that. We would go to these places called microsites, where, like, you find just a scattering of tiny little bones there on the surface. Because this was like, you know, an ancient pond or a sandbar or something, where you just get little bones that would accumulate millions of years ago and then become fossilized. Almost like a nice little sample platter of the different critters that were living in that environment. Sometimes, some paleontologists have a habit of picking those up, and then in order to clean them, because they're so small and delicate, you just pop it into your mouth. And your saliva kind of, like, cleans away some of the dirt on it, and then you pull it out, and then you look at it, you let it dry off, and then you put it into a collecting bag. Miss Yvette says, ew, but, you know, that's how it is in the field, you know? We're out there in the middle of the wilderness. None of us have showered for 3 weeks. We're just, you know, you do what you gotta do. You forgo a lot of the comforts that you might have in civilization, and you just do what you gotta do. So anyway, I don't remember who it was, but there was a story that somebody was working at a microsite, and they just find all of these scattered bones there, and they're like, we're doing this to hold on to them so they don't lose them, and then they pick up this little white thing, and they pop it into their mouth, and it's gone. It dissolves. And the person realized they picked up a bit of bird poop that looked like a fossil bone. So yeah. That's why I don't pop things in my mouth like that usually, because, you know, yeah, that is a moment, Retro Roadshow. That is a moment. Yeah. Yeah, the sacrifices we make for science, Steely Dan. There you go. Yeah. So yeah, let's continue. It's birds. Yeah, I guess it's from a dinosaur, Victorious. Yeah, we get these little yellow scorpions out there in the field, too.
Great care is taken in preparing this animal for its first move in millions of years.
And there you go, Portal. Yes, I agree, right, Portalgeist.
About 8 meters
yeah.
this way.
Welcome back, by the way. It's good to see you.
Out. All right, Helmet, you can hand me the tape.
And yeah, Denver wasn't really a slapping kind of guy. He's not like a real physical person, HD. So I wouldn't worry about that, but yeah.
The uncovered bones are treated using a method that has changed little over the past century.
And hang on, Medib says crocs are sort of living dinosaurs. some of the similarity to each other is not a surprise. Well, I'm going to push back on that just a little bit. So crocodiles are like cousins to the dinosaurs. They're not dinosaurs themselves. This is a really neat little diagram here. I'll give you a link in the chat. Oh, and Claire Burr, you already... Thank you, Claire Burr. Well done. Nice. Nicely done. So crocodilians are over here. Dinosaurs start here. So in order to be a dinosaur, you have to have evolved from this earliest dinosaur ancestor. This is how we actually classify living things as scientists. It's not based necessarily on similarities. It's not based on how they look or how they act or stuff like that. All that stuff can be clues, but what actually constitutes relatedness is what you evolved from, what your ancestors are. So in order to be a dinosaur, you have to have evolved from this dinosaur ancestor. So all the descendants of this earliest dinosaur are dinosaurs. That's literally, by definition, what dinosaurs are. Crocodiles are like cousins to the dinosaurs, because they evolved from the same ancestor that dinosaurs did. Get the crocodiles up there. But they're, again, only like cousins to dinosaurs. Contrast that with birds, though. Birds, you can trace their ancestry back to the first dinosaur. So birds literally are dinosaurs. Crocodiles are more like dinosaur cousins. Does that make sense? Yeah. And there is an Aedosaur there, isn't there, Diagonal? Yes, indeed. Good stuff. That's probably Desmatasuchus right there, I would guess. Yeah. And Creation Coach says, how can you tell they evolved from that dinosaur? So that gets a little bit more complicated. But basically, the first dinosaur that we have so far, called Eoraptor, it's got these different features that are shared by all dinosaurs afterward. And that's like the first time that we really see these in concert is in Eoraptor. So we look at their morphological features, the different aspects of their skeleton. That starts off with this original dinosaur, and then all the dinosaurs after that have that, or have some modification of that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah. And, where Jelly Ogre, hey, welcome back. Good to have you here. Yeah. Anyway, that's why I said sort of. There you go, Midibs. Yeah. This wasn't meant to call you out. I feel like this would benefit a lot of people in chat to know how we classify living things and that it's based on ancestry. It's, for multiple reasons, this is not something that gets discussed enough. This is not something that's really taught in schools, especially here in the US. You know, this idea that all of biology is based on this idea that living things change over time. Evolution is the fundamental concept in all of biology. And yet it's not taught in most American schools. It's really distressing, honestly. There are powerful people who try and keep those concepts out of schools. You know, they fund creationist organizations, and they... groups like the Discovery Institute, or International Creation Research, or Answers in Genesis. Groups like this fight tooth and nail to keep good science out of science classrooms in the US, and that's one of the reasons why, unfortunately, most Americans just, they never learn this stuff in school, you know? Yeah. But yeah, Eoraptor and Ancestry. I wish it were named after E.O. Wilson. Yeah, Eo means dawn, or like beginning of. So Eoraptor, Eotyrannus, Eodromius. Eo just means like from the beginning. It means dawn. D-A-W-N. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. And Mandibus is in the U.S. Anything outside the U.S. is not taunt. Yeah, I don't know. And FLL says, why wasn't the ancestor of the original dinosaur where the line dinosaur link was drawn? I mean, it is, FLL. Yeah. So dinosaurs all evolved from the original dinosaur. This is like a fundamental concept in biology. And again, it's frustrating to me that, like, we all take this for granted as paleontologists, as biologists, as people who work in the life sciences. This idea of a clade like this. It's the ancestor and all of its descendants. This is like one of the most basic concepts that you could possibly have, you know? And yet, very intelligent people, smart people, well-educated people, are often completely oblivious to this idea because it was just never taught to them in school. You know? This idea of common ancestry. It's the simplest thing in the world. And yet it doesn't get taught in schools, you know? Yeah. But anyway, and clade, yes, Portal guys. So a clade is, we're getting into like really, really basic phylogenetics here. This is like the foundational concept, I guess. What is a clade? I'm trying to find you a YouTube video here. I remember this being pretty good here. But let's try a different one. Is this any good?
The word clade simply refers to a group of organisms that share a common ancestor. It's a way of grouping things by their evolutionary history instead of by shared characteristics.
Yep.
In virology, clades help us understand how a virus has evolved over time.
And so it's not just animals. It's not just living things either. It's also viruses too. You know, you would think that.
We didn't come here to fight with monsters. We came here to find fossils.
And Onora Suru, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. You would think that after, you know, the emergence of a global pandemic, that this sort of thing would be, you know, top of people's minds, and that, you know, we would have more education on this subject, and that doesn't seem to be happening, unfortunately. I'm not trying to blame anyone in chat for not knowing this. I want to emphasize very heavily here that this is not your fault. And likewise, this is why I'm here on Twitch, is to talk about stuff like this. Because these concepts are extraordinarily important. This is like the most basic foundational stuff in biology. And yet... Well, yeah, here's a little clip that I've collected from here.
Just as Darwin proposed.
The reporters in the courtroom were just amazed that we knew all this stuff. And how come they hadn't learned about this stuff before? And the reason is, it's not in textbooks because the creationists fight so hard to keep it out. That's been a big influence.
This is paleontologist Kevin Padian, from just down the road from me in Berkeley, California, and he's totally right about this. There's this huge, big, wide world of scientific knowledge that we have about the history of life on Earth, about where we came from, about how living things change and evolve, and how this incredible diversity of life on our amazing planet has come to be. And it really is like the coolest story there is, and yet most people never get to learn this in school. And like Kevin Padian said, it's because of largely creationist influence. trying to keep these ideas out of the schools because they find it threatening, you know? So yeah, and he is the guy behind the Durder meme there, Lydia. Yes, indeed. Yeah. And Moosey Fate says, so a clade isn't like a kingdom or a phylum. It's any group, large or small, that share the same ancestor at the part being talked about. Exactly, Moosey Fate. Exactly. Yes. Here, back to this video right here.
Clade simply refers to a group of organisms that share a common ancestor.
And so a clade is like a genuine group of living animals, or extinct animals, or whatever. Organisms that share a common ancestor, like they are a true family. They actually they evolved from the same thing. They come from the same place. They have the same ancestry. That's a clade.
Grouping things by their evolutionary history instead of by shared characteristics.
Yeah.
In virology.
And so yeah, instead of those shared characteristics.
History instead of by shared characteristics.
So yeah, a newt and a chameleon, these are totally different groups of animals. They're not each other's closest relatives, despite the fact they both have a dorsal crest, you know? It's like how whales and tuna fish, they don't belong to the same group together like that. You know, tuna fish are ray-finned fishes. Whales are a kind of ungulate mammal. Even though they both have fins and they both swim in the water, those shared characteristics are not what make them part of the same group, you know? You got to look harder than that. You know? You got to actually figure out what they evolved from in order to be able to classify them.
In virology, clades help us understand how a virus has evolved over time.
Yeah.
Imagine you have a virus that is rapidly spreading. If we sequence its genome, we can create a genetic profile of this specific virus. Now, imagine that a mutation is introduced into that genome. It's still the same virus. It's just slightly different from the original. We'll call it a variant. And let's say that keeps happening. As the new variant spreads, another mutation occurs. And another. All of these newly evolved and closely related variants make up a clade.
Yep.
But evolution isn't linear.
Because they came from the same ancestor. They're just changed a little bit. This is how animals work too. Or like animals evolve bit by little bit, generation to generation. You know, you're a little bit different from your parents, like I'm a little bit different from my parents. Those accumulated changes over time are evolution, you know? That's how it works.
Let's say a completely different mutation also occurs in the original virus, different from the other variants. And those mutations keep happening. Now, in our evolutionary tree, we have two completely different branches, which can be considered separate clades.
Yep. Or you can say they're part of the same clade in that, like, they both share this common ancestor right here. So, like, it's almost, you know, you can have clades that are nested within one another. Both clade 1 and clade 2, they are part of this original clade too, because they share this common ancestor. So it's almost like a Russian nesting doll, you know, where you can have one clade within a larger clade. Does that make sense? Yeah, clade A contains clade 1 and clade 2. Exactly, Lenina. Yes, you got it. Yeah. And Moosey Fate wants to know, could clades also describe family trees of a single species? Yes, absolutely. As long as they have a common ancestor. So a clade is that common ancestor and all of its descendants. That's a clade. Yeah. Does that make sense?
More variants evolve, branching off from different spots in the tree. Virologists group them into clades to keep track of how and where each lineage is spreading. This genetic surveillance is important for informing public health decisions, as well as revealing any concerning variants with unique biological properties.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope that makes sense to you. I don't know how we got on this topic in the first place, but good to talk about, you know? These are foundational concepts, you know. Balint from Science Streams can tell you the same thing. This is really important in his line of work, too. It's not just in paleontology, but also in molecular biology, in virology, in... Whether you're studying dinosaurs, whether you're studying ants, Whether you're studying variants of the COVID virus, it's extremely important to understand these things, you know? And if you're a scientist, like, actively working in this field, this is, like, your bread and butter. This is, like... It's what everything else that you study is built on, you know? Yeah. And Medib says, I have a human mutation. Unfortunately, I don't shoot lasers from my eyes. I know, right? That's why X-Men, like, that whole thing always bugged me a little bit. It's like, oh, mutants. All of the mutants somehow have superpowers. It's like, there's no mutant where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm a mutant too. I just, you know, I get blisters if I'm out in the sun too long. Or oh, my eyebrows are, I don't have eyebrows. That's my mutant superpower. Or stuff like that, you know? I'm a mutant also. Most of us, actually, I guess you could argue all human beings are mutants in some sense. Because we all have small mutations. That's, you know, the engine that evolution runs on. I have an interesting mutation in that I don't have any wisdom teeth. Never had any? Or, I have like 1/4 of one, and I'm 21 years old at this point. Wink, wink. I've never had to have it removed. I probably will never have to have it removed. A lot of people have like 4 wisdom teeth. Some people have like 8. Yeah. And, Onarasuru says, hello from France. I don't understand everything because of my level of English, but it's pretty cool to listen to you. You could have fooled me, Omarasuru. Sorry. It's wonderful to have you here, and I hope things are going well for you there in France. Greetings from the beautiful, sunny San Francisco Bay Area. I hope you're having a lovely evening there in France. Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it. It's good to have you here. And your English is pretty good, I gotta say. And holy cow, Astro Alexandra. I guess I messed up the raid alert, but welcome to Paleontologizing. Holy cow. It is good to have you here. Welcome, Astro Alexandra. And how did your stream go? I hope it was excellent. Welcome to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. You probably know already that a paleontologist is a fossil scientist. I work on dinosaur fossils in particular. Hence, dinosaur paleontologist.
The extinction of dinosaurs is the absolute prerequisite to the evolution of large mammals and to our own existence, for that matter.
Look at all these wonderful follows.
Did I just get a single living dinosaur?
Lenkel Great Storm, Granola Barbs, Edrich, Mathwiz, Blind Seer, Dr. Tiny Ginger, Jupiter, Ducksmith, Jermaine G.
Are you a fan of dinosaurs?
And Astro Alexander. Thank you for those follows. Welcome. I'm so happy you're here, Astro Alexander. How are you doing? When we came from space to learn about dinosaurs, well, learn you shall. Welcome. My whole purpose for being here on Twitch is to teach people about my area of expertise. The stuff that I publish on in the scientific literature. Dinosaurs. Everybody's got dinosaur questions, and I do my best to have dinosaur answers for them. Kenny Gabe and D. George, Meline and Softakaz, and Manny Too Crazy. Thank you all for your follows. Welcome.
Here's something stranger than science fiction.
I really appreciate that. Holy cow. But I do need to ask.
What are dinosaurs?
No, not what are dinosaurs. I know that, but I can tell you. Astro Alexandra, how did your stream go? I hope it was excellent. And how did you find me in the first place? I'd love to know that.
Really spectacular.
How did your stream go?
No,
How did you find me?
Dharma gifted a tier 1 sub to Onarasuru. They have
It's,
given 7 gift subs in the channel.
And
I'm
thank
here
you,
to
thank you.
applaud the work of vertebrate paleontologists.
Espy for those 5 gift subs there. I really appreciate that. And, Gotter Demerung says she's out of this world. Indeed. Welcome back. It's good to have you here. Welcome back.
With those 5 gift subs.
I feel like I've seen your name before.
An armored giant, wreaking his prehistoric fury on modern man and his puny machines.
Oh, and Shawnee D55, that's a fantastic question. How bad was the movie 65? I've got a little video about that I can show you in a minute, so stay tuned for that. But, yeah. And Moo Hoodles, how are you doing, Moo? Welcome back to you. It's good to see you, Moo Hoodles. Howdy, howdy. We've got a bunch of cool new people here. I think maybe we should call forth for previously recorded Danny to introduce all these cool new folks to the channel. And thank you, Punk Princess NH. It's a great name. Welcome, Punk Princess. Without further ado, we're going to call forth a good friend of ours called Previously Recorded Danny. He's going to explain to you briefly what this channel is all about, how a paleontologist came to be here on Twitch in the first place, and all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's... Hang on. Goodness.
Let's protect our fossils, because if they're removed, America loses them forever.
Hang on. Bearded Fortress, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Thank you. Previously recorded Danny is very eagerly jumping up and down behind me. He'd really like to talk to you. So, previously recorded Danny, go for it.
Thanks, present day Danny. You know, people ask me all the time, Danny, how did you first get interested in paleontology? And I've always been interested in fossils from the earliest time I can remember, particularly dinosaurs. My parents like to say that I decided I wanted to become a paleontologist pretty much the moment I realized I couldn't grow up to be a dinosaur. And believe me, I tried.
I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is a lovely place to grow up. Except that we haven't got any dinosaur fossils here. So right after high school, I packed up and moved to Montana, one of the best places in the world to find dinosaurs. Just a couple days after I arrived in Montana, I started working at the lab at Museum of the Rockies and the paleontology program founded by Jack Horner. Jack's done a lot of amazing things in his career, but you may know him as the scientific advisor on the movie Jurassic Park.
You consulted on that movie.
I did consult on all those movies.
And they said that the guy, Alan Grant, was you.
Yes. Yeah, well, fortunately, he didn't get eaten.
But we wanted a credible resource that could back up several theories that we were sort of expounding. And one was that dinosaurs eventually evolved into birds.
And even the word raptor means bird of prey.
And that's something that Jack Horner believes in and could defend if necessary. And Jack Horner became our credibility.
It was in this program that Jack built that I learned how to be a dinosaur paleontologist and how to think outside the box. I've done work at a number of other museums around the American West, helping to prep fossils, design exhibits, and educate visitors. I did a fair bit of eclectic fieldwork in various places, identifying and collecting early Cretaceous dinosaur tracks on the Idaho border, Sphenodontian fossils in the gravelly range of the Rocky Mountains, Cenozoic fishes in western Nevada, but most of my work out in the field was with Dr. Denver Fowler, who is now curator of the Badlands Dinosaur Museum. In all, I've worked probably a few hundred sites throughout the late Cretaceous of Montana, and the Hell Creek and Judith River formations, digging up dinosaurs. Lots and lots and lots of dinosaurs. And from time to time, that work has even garnered some media attention.
Montana's news leader.
5 paleontologists are excavating what looks to likely be a new species of armored dinosaur.
We found its head, we found parts of its armor and plates, and so it should be a new species.
And much like my fieldwork, my research focuses on dinosaurs. I'm particularly interested in their behavioral functional morphology. All these bizarre anatomical features that certain dinosaurs had, I want to know what they used them for. Right now, I'm working on a study on spinosaurs. Alright, but don't ask me too much about that because it's still a project in the works and I can't give away too much just yet till it's published. But anyway, a couple years ago I realized that things were definitely headed downhill in Montana. So I packed up and headed back to the West Coast. And I've become kind of fed up with all the bullshit in academia, so I found myself another job. I am now a teacher in early childhood education. And let me tell you, it's been a natural fit since day one. Now, given that I get to design the curriculum, my students now know more about biology, classification, and the history of life on Earth than most adults do. I've been helping raise a new generation of young scientists. Then, coronavirus hit. In mid-March, when all the schools shut down in San Francisco, I started holding classes over Zoom, and we picked up right where we left off. 1, 2, 3. I love digging in the dirt with just a pick and brush. Finding fossils is my aim, and so I'm never in a rush because the treasures that I see are rare and ancient things, like velociraptors' jumps or Archaeopteryx's wings, and all the kids who wanna see them lining up at our museum. I am a paleontologist. That's who I am. That's who I am. That's who I am. I am a paleontologist. That's who I am, that's who I am, that's who I am. That's who I am, that's who I am, that's who I am. That's who I am, that's who I am, that's who I am. I realized that I really enjoy teaching remotely. So back in May, I decided to try streaming on Twitch. And here we are. This is my passion. And now I get to share it with you. And what could be cooler than that? I believe that scientists ought to be public servants. Ultimately, it's our job not just to make scientific discoveries, but to teach the public about them. That's exactly what I want to do here. Now, because of COVID-19, this will be my first summer in almost 10 years with no fieldwork. I'm trying to look on the bright side, though. It's not all bad. At least I have more time for outreach. And I've got plenty of cool stuff to work on. And if you could throw some support my way by subscribing, I'd be incredibly grateful. So anyway, if you are new here, you should be pretty well clued in by now. And I'm glad you're here. I hope you're having a good time. Anyway, let's see what present-day Danny has cooked up for us. All right, present-day Danny, back to you. Well, thank you very much, previously recorded Danny. And, of course, thank you even more to Astro Alexandra for that incredible raid.
Help me.
Welcome, welcome. And thank you for all of the follows. Holy moly. Bat, thank you for your follow. Welcome, welcome. We were talking about dinosaurs before you wonderful raiders arrived. We were talking about how living things change over time and all that good stuff. Gameplay Review UK, thank you for the follow also. Welcome, welcome. Anyway, Astro Alexander was doing some just chatting here. And let's see, does she have a channel trailer? It doesn't seem like it, but let's go to About, Exploring the Cosmos. Oh, sounds like we're in the same line of work, sort of. You looking spatially at the universe at large, and me looking temporally back in our own history of our own planet Earth. Good stuff. Yeah. And she's new to streaming? This was her second stream? Holy cow. Phantom Creed, her second stream ever? And she had 100-something viewers? If I were wearing a hat, I'd take it off. That is really impressive. Astro Alexandra, thank you again for your awesome raid. She's a TikToker about space. Well, well, well. She's popular on other platforms, says Bat. That makes a lot of sense. I'm only, if you could call me popular, it's only on this platform, on Twitch. This is legitimately how I make my living nowadays, believe it or not. This is how I fund my research and my field work. All of my work on dinosaurs, digging them up and publishing on them. This is how I fund that, is through Twitch. So I need to give a follow to Astro Alexandra right now.
Tells us something about how the world was.
I would advise that you do the same thing, Chad. Go follow Astro Alexandra right now. Sounds like she does some good stuff. And, oh, and shoot, she needs to enable VODs also. I remember my first few streams on Twitch, I did not have VODs enabled. You gotta go into your dashboard and, like, click a checkbox. Got my backpack back. What a beautiful graph. Thank you for showing us. Holy cow. Yeah. But yeah, if, Astro Alexandra, she should,
There are fewer than 40
enable VODs there.
dinosaur paleontologists.
So people can find her when she's not online also. Jody Fish, thank you for those 5 gift subs.
Are leading this expedition.
I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you for helping pay my bills there, Jody Fish. It makes
Gifted 5 subs.
it makes a difference. Thank you for your generosity there, Jody Fish. And there's 5 people in chat who I'm sure very very grateful for not having to watch any ads for the next 30 days, because we've got an ad going right now. Oy. Well, 5 chatters won't have to watch it. Thank you, Jody Fish. And if you run over to her TikTok, there's a chance you might recognize her, says Cole Graves. Let's see. TikTok. Astro Alexandra. This is probably 2.3 million followers. Holy cow. Wow.
I have 5 more crazy science facts that might surprise you. First of all, there are
Okay.
tunnels on the moon. Actual tunnels. The moon used to be covered in volcanoes, which caused
Yeah,
lava
they'd be lava
flows,
tubes, right?
which caused tunnels. And we can actually see the
Yeah.
tunnels on the moon today, and some scientists want humans to live in them, which there are pros and cons. The total mass of all of the asteroids in the asteroid belt is only about 4% the mass of our moon. The current known asteroid count is over 1.1 million, and most of them are in the asteroid belt. And
They're
of
small,
all of
yeah.
the mass of the entire asteroid belt, one asteroid series accounts for over a third of the total mass. About every 11 years, the sun's magnetic field flips. And while it has something to do with the sun's rotational rate, scientists don't really know why it's every 11 years, and sometimes more and sometimes less.
That's fairly regular, actually. That sounds more consistent than our own Earth flipping its magnetic polarity, which happens... I can't even give you a good figure because it's not a regular thing. It's just like kind of whenever it wants to. And but it's happened a lot over over the history of life on Earth. Anyway, and it looks like she's going to talk about theropod dinosaurs here. Let's take a look.
This one's crazy. We are closer in time to a T-Rex
Yeah,
than
classic.
a T-Rex is to a
To Stegosaurus, yeah, or any of the other Jurassic dinosaurs. Yeah. This is almost a cliche in dinosaur paleontology. It does blow a lot of people's minds, but she's 100% right about this. Yes. There's less time between Tyrannosaurus and Twitch.tv than there is between Tyrannosaurus and Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus. T-Rexes lived in the area where North America is 66 million years ago. Stegosauruses lived in the same area and more about 150 million years ago. That's about 84 million years before the T-Rex. And finally, Australia.
And so, this thing that I always like to point out is, any of you've ever been to Disneyland? By the way, cool video there. I really like this, Astro Alexander. That one blew a lot of people's minds. It's really cool, right? I mean, Because I think with dinosaurs, because of stuff like Jurassic Park and The Land Before Time and much of media that incorporates dinosaurs, people are used to thinking of dinosaurs as all being from, like, the dinosaur time, you know? Like, there was one time on Earth, like, one moment when you had all of these dinosaurs running around. And when you look at, like, packs of assorted plastic dinosaurs, not only do you get a lot of non-dinosaurs, like there's a plesiosaur and a mosasaur hiding there that aren't dinosaurs.
This is their first gift.
And thank you, Bat, for gifting Astro Alexandra. Thank you, thank you. I think people are used to thinking of dinosaurs as just being like, they lived in the time of the dinosaurs, and they were all, you know, one big giant fruit salad of dinosaurs, just assorted everywhere. They all lived at the same time in the same place, and it couldn't be further from the truth. The age of the dinosaurs is like 170 million years long. And that cast of dinosaur characters was constantly changing throughout that. New dinosaur groups evolving and old ones going extinct. It's this like grand pageant of you know, ontogeny. Dinosaurs ruling the earth, and I think here we go. This will help demonstrate that a little bit. This is just in Utah, in the U.S. state of Utah. There are 27 sequential faunal levels just in Utah containing dinosaurs. You have 27 different casts of dinosaur characters just in the state of Utah. So, like, Tyrannosaurus from up here would never have met Stegosaurus down here because they lived like 80 million years apart. You know, same with Triceratops and Gastonia, for instance. Like, there are tens of millions of years separating those dinosaurs. Yeah, and how many dinosaur species have been discovered? It depends on who you ask. Jermaine G. This is actually something that I'm working on. And Will62, thank you for your Ko-Fi donation there. I really appreciate it. I actually have some papers that I'm hopefully going to be able to publish in the next couple of years about this very subject. How many different dinosaur species do we have? And how many different dinosaur species existed throughout the Mesozoic era?
Your cousin Marvin Berry, you know that new...
Holy cow, Tommy.
Well, listen to this.
Thank you for the raid and welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Holy cow, how did your stream go? Hope it was excellent. Welcome to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and we're talking dinosaurs here. I just got a question. How many dinosaur species have been discovered, and how many are there? It's kind of it is a complicated question. Even its very basic terms are complicated, you know? When we talk about dinosaur species, we kind of need to separate that from dinosaur genera. So when we're talking about biology, when we're talking about organisms, living things, we've got genus and species. So when we're, you know, classifying something like a red fox right here, I wish they'd picked a better example because the genus and species names are identical. Vulpes, vulpes. But anyway, the species is Vulpes, the genus is Vulpes, the family is Canidae, you know. Within a genus is a closely related group of species that all share a common ancestor. A genus would be an excellent example of a clade, like we were talking about earlier before these raids. Homo sapiens is probably a better example here. Let's look at ourselves here. Let's look in the mirror. Homo sapiens. Our species is sapiens. Genus is Homo. There were other species within this genus, too. There was Homo neanderthalis. Neanderthals. Homo floresiensis, where the hobbit species from Indonesia. Homo erectus was like an early human ancestor, another species within genus Homo. When we're talking about dinosaurs, genus and species is almost synonymous for dinosaurs, since we have such little material from them. When you're talking about a dinosaur genus, that's essentially like the same thing as a species, you know? There are very few dinosaur genera that have different species named from them. So when we say dinosaur species, that's essentially the same as like a dinosaur genus. It's kind of because we have such limited information about these animals, we can't get super detailed in a lot of our stuff, so a dinosaur genus essentially is a dinosaur species. There are a lot of dinosaur genera that have been named. I mean, here is a list right here on Wikipedia. Many of these are not going to be valid. So if we stop right here, Belosiosaurus is a nomen nudum. That's a specimen that doesn't actually have a proper scientific paper. Bacosaurus is a nomen nudum. That's the same thing as Bactrosaurus. So a lot of these that have text next to them, they're not valid. But still, there are a tremendous number of them. There are at least 1,000 species of dinosaur that have been named. Some would say 2,000 or 3,000. It depends on how many you consider valid and how many you don't. And that's part of what we were discussing this week when we were talking about Nanotyrannus and if it's the same thing as Tyrannosaurus Rex or not. So yeah. And Malene, is it true that Neanderthals used to eat each other? I don't know. That's outside of my realm of expertise. But with meat-eating dinosaurs, we do have evidence that they ate each other. We have evidence for cannibalism in Tyrannosaurus, in Majungasaurus, and a number of other meat-eating dinosaurs. Oh yeah. Which is not super surprising. A lot of modern animals, meat-eating animals, will eat each other. They'll engage in cannibalism when there's no other option, you know? So yeah. And Jody Fish and Charlie's Dragon, you are both correct. Yeah, most dinosaurs that have been named, like if we were to pick one of these at random, and thank you for the follow, M. Gotterdamerung, long German name, thank you for the follow, welcome. Here, Y's are not going to work very well, but let's go up into the V's, for instance. Oh boy, there's a good example. Vectoraptor. How much fossil material is this animal based on? It is known from associated dorsal vertebrae and a partial sacrum. And, Warthog Crew, thank you for the follow. Welcome. It's good to have you here. Yeah. So this dinosaur is based on very little material. There's literally just a couple of bones. So there's one of them right there in a bunch of different views. I would not have named this animal based on such scanty material, but a lot of dinosaurs are known from... Well, there you go. That's Vectoraptor. Highlighted in white are the bones that we actually have from it. Yeah. Same with Pyroraptor, which appeared in one of the Jurassic World movies. That's how much we actually have from this animal. An arm bone, a tailbone, a metatarsal, and a couple of claws, maybe? Yeah. So a lot of dinosaurs are like this. But other ones are known from complete skeletons. Velociraptor and Protoceratops. They're all there. You know? They were actually preserved after being in a fight. This is extraordinarily rare. I think this is probably the only example we have of this for dinosaurs. Out of all the millions of dinosaur fossils ever found, these are the only two that were ever found locked in mortal combat. Oh yeah. So yeah, yeah. So, you know, it really runs the gamut. We've got complete dinosaur skeletons. Like, for instance, this Camarasaurus here, this juvenile Camarasaurus. Nearly complete. I guess there were some vertebrae missing from the tail. And then we have dinosaurs, maybe the majority of dinosaurs that are known from very scanty material. So yeah, yeah. And what about the two T-Rex fighting? What do you mean, Wheel62? Two T-Rex fighting? Not aware of this. Rye Guy says, that's sick. Isn't that cool? Yeah. And Mathwiz says, do we have a full Bronto skeleton? So that, gets into some complicated stuff. Is Brontosaurus a proper name for a dinosaur, or is it not?
Astonishing. Simply astonishing. One of the
It's
most
kind of a long
singular
story.
specimens I've encountered in all my distinguished career. But enough about my work. What did you want to show?
Rye Guy, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. And Masolith says, that's wild how people can even tell what the animal was from so few bones. Well, it's because we know the general group of dinosaurs that it comes from. So, like with Vectoraptor here, you know, those vertebrae seem to be the vertebrae of a dromaeosaur, like Velociraptor, or like Deinonychus, or Utahraptor. And so we can tell that this is generally what the animal would look like, based on the shape of those few bones. But we can't get super specific. We don't know what the exact, you know, appearance of the animal would be, but we can tell that it's from this group of dinosaurs. The Dromaeosauridae. The group that includes Velociraptor and... oh, come on. And Deinonychus, Utahraptor, Austroraptor, Microraptor, etc. There we go. So we can tell it's from this basic group of dinosaurs here. It's a member of Dromaeosauridae. But these vary pretty wildly in size and shape. And so, yeah, the exact details of its appearance are unknown to us until we find a more complete skeleton, you know? So yeah, yeah. Anyway. And Gene Wen. And yeah, Gene Wen, yeah. Dracorex does seem to be... or Stygimoloch, sorry. Stygimoloch and Dracorex seem to be just juveniles of Pachycephalosaurus. But yeah. Here, let me grab my Pachycephalosaurus skull. Hang on just a second. There we go. This is my 3D printed Pachycephalosaurus skull right here. So this is a pretty cool dinosaur from the Hell Creek Formation, the very end of the Age of Dinosaurs. We were talking about how T-Rex would have never met Stegosaurus. It did meet Pachycephalosaurus, and it did eat Pachycephalosaurus. These dinosaurs were contemporaries. They were neighbors. They knew each other. Yeah, Pachycephalosaurus is the largest of the Pachycephalosaurs. And, it's interesting for a whole host of different reasons. Let me show you what the animal would look like in life. Alright, there's a pretty decent one there. Pachycephalosaurus. Would have looked like this in life. This is a really excellent reconstruction of Pachycephalosaurus. But the interesting thing about Pachycephalosaurus, seen here in, there's a video game called Saurian that has, like, one of the best Pachycephalosaurus depictions I've ever seen. Arguably the best. It's really good. But the interesting thing about Pachycephalosaurus is that We used to think that there were 3 different members of this family that lived at the end of the Cretaceous period in North America. They were called Dracorex, Stygimoloch, and Pachycephalosaurus. But then, after more careful study, it turned out these are probably just the same dinosaur. Dinosaurs changed a tremendous amount as they grew and matured. And so, Dracorex turns out to just be a juvenile. Stygimoloch, which is a little bigger, turns out to be like a subadult or a teenager. Pachycephalosaurus seems to be the adult form. I think this is actually true for a lot of other dinosaur groups. I think a lot of the dinosaurs that have been named are probably just juveniles or adults of dinosaurs that were named prior to this. But yeah. Because it turns out dinosaurs seem to change a tremendous amount through what we call ontogeny. So here's Triceratops doing just that.
Ontogeny.
Yeah. So the juveniles look way different from the adults. So if you find a skeleton of a juvenile and it looks so different from a previously known dinosaur, you might name it as a new species or a new genus.
Ontogeny.
And it probably, in a lot of these cases, it turns out it's just a previously known dinosaur.
Ontogeny.
That changes through ontogeny. That makes sense? So yeah. That was kind of our topic on Wednesday and sort of our topic for discussion today, too. Talking about these dinosaurs. Tyrannosaurus, you're familiar with already. T-Rex, everybody knows and loves T-Rex. And a smaller Tyrannosaur, sometimes called Nanotyrannus, which most dinosaur paleontologists are convinced that Nanotyrannus is just a juvenile T-Rex. It's not a different dinosaur at all, it's just a baby T-Rex, basically. But it looks way different. So, you can kind of forgive people who go, oh, it looks too different, it can't be the same animal. This is an ongoing controversy in dinosaur paleontology right now. And a new paper just came out about this, was just officially published on Wednesday. And so we talked about that on Wednesday's stream, and we're kind of talking about that today, too. So, yeah. And Charlie's Dragon says, I'm not sold on Triceratops' horns going from curved back to curved forward. And nobody argues that they don't, Charlie's Dragon. That's well established. We know that beyond a shadow of a doubt that happens. Yeah. So yeah. Whether or not Torosaurus is actually a full-grown Triceratops, that is a matter of dispute. I think it is. A lot of dinosaur paleontologists aren't convinced, and it's still unresolved, But we do know that Triceratops start off with backwards-facing horns, and then over time they start to face forward like that. So, really dramatic changes can happen in Triceratops. Here, and at the museum I used to work at, Museum of the Rockies in Bozeman, Montana, they have this beautiful display there with Triceratops. They start off really small like this, as babies. They've got these little horns. They've got those really spiky episquamosals and epiparietals on the back of the frill. And as they grow, those horns start to curve backward, further and further, and then they start to straighten out, and then they curve forward. It's really cool. And these are not changes that we see in modern animals. Dinosaurs were just different than modern mammals in this regard. Different way of growing, and probably moving through different ecological niches as they mature. It's really cool stuff. And the sub badges that I have here in chat, those are Triceratops growth stages, showing Triceratops ontogeny. So yeah. It's pretty cool. And basically the only museum that's ever been able to really study this in depth has been Museum of the Rockies, where I used to work. And that's because that's the only museum in the world that really has enough Triceratops specimens where we can get all of those in-betweens there, you know? Or we can find these individual growth stages and then string them together. You know, you put all the data points together and there's a smooth gradation. Everybody else has got 1 or 2 Triceratops skeletons, the skulls, so it's like, you know, well, of course these look different. But when you start to find all of the in-betweens, then it becomes really obvious that this is smooth transition. Which is so cool, you know? We could do this for so many more dinosaurs if we just had more paleontologists out there looking for them, digging them up, cleaning them, studying them, publishing on them. But we don't have that yet. There are not very many dinosaur paleontologists in the world. We tend to be overworked and underpaid, underemployed. There are very few paying jobs for dinosaur paleontologists in the world. So yeah. And Creation Coach says, how complete has dinosaur DNA been found? None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Zero. We've never found a single scrap of DNA from the age of dinosaurs. And we think it's just because DNA is too fragile. It doesn't last 66 million years. We've got other stuff like some kinds of soft tissue that are more resilient. We have stuff like remnants of heme, which is one of the components in hemoglobin in blood. We've got stuff like collagen, stuff like that, but no DNA. DNA just seems to be too delicate. The expiration date is it's too short for DNA, you know? Oh yeah. Yeah, DNA degrades very rapidly, Neverwinter. Exactly. Yeah, but we do have lots of DNA from modern dinosaurs, from birds. Absolutely. Yeah. And by the way, Junior Dirtbike 114, did I not say thank you for the follow 10 minutes ago? Junior Dirtbike, if you're still here, thank you for your follow. And I'm sorry to be so neglectful. We just have so many cool new people here. And anyway, I appreciate you. Thank you for following. Yeah. And some people think woolly mammoths have been cloned. Some people think that. I mean, they're wrong. It would be really cool to be able to clone a woolly mammoth, but nobody's been able to do that yet. Yeah. There are a million things we'd have to figure out before that's even close to possible. But yeah. Anyway. And would you like to recreate a dinosaur using mutation? Well, Math Whiz, that's actually a project that is ongoing. And if you'd like to see it, I'd love to share it with you. Here, take a look at this. Since we've got a bunch of cool new people here, I figure we might as well show this old video from an old news show called 60 Minutes. This is from 13 years ago, produced by CBS News. This is the museum that I used to work at, and this is my old boss, Jack Horner, here, like you saw in the welcome video. Take a look. And sorry, I reverse it like this so that it doesn't get like copyright struck on YouTube when I put the VOD up on YouTube later. But yeah.
Giant, mysterious animals that roamed the earth for millions of years.
Yep. And so I want to make something very clear right off the bat. B-Rex right here. Oh, and Ferrocyanide, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. B-Rex is a nickname for this site, and I guess to a certain extent this specimen. This is not a new species of dinosaur. It's just another T-Rex, but a really special one, as you'll see. And it's been nicknamed B-Rex after Bob Harmon, the guy who found it. Here, take a look. And Tannerine wants to know, do you think there could be dinosaurs preserved deep in the ice somewhere? There's no ice that's that old, Tannerine. Yeah. We don't have any ice that's from the age of the dinosaurs. There's no ice on Earth that's that old. So it's, like, physically impossible. Earth has gone through a big greenhouse stage since the time of the dinosaurs, when there was a time when there was no ice on the entire surface of our planet after the extinction of the dinosaurs. And so there's no ice that's that old, you know? Yeah. I wish there was. That'd be so cool to, like, this, you know, if there were any chance that there were any dinosaurs preserved in ice anywhere, any Mesozoic dinosaurs preserved in ice, that would be so cool, but not a shot. Yeah. Yeah. And Ferrocyanide says, is it a myth that when the ice caps melt, we will be at risk for introducing new diseases? No. Not even at, like, that will happen, I think. Yeah, there's stuff locked up in the permafrost of places like northern Canada or Siberia, Russia. Like, that's a ticking time bomb there. Like, we can't let that stuff out. But as the global climate continues to rise, like, it's a ticking time bomb. It really is. Yeah. And that sucks. I know, right? Yeah. Mammoth close. There you go, avocado. And by the way, there is Denver Fowler, my old crew chief. They must have told him, like, oh, just shovel while we take some B-roll here. And he's like, I'm just going to shovel my heart out. Denver's a very hard worker, and this is the guy who trained me in the field. He was Jack Horner's last graduate student. There he is there. Tatareem says, you know him personally? Who, Denver or Jack? Because the answer to either of those would be yes, of course. Yeah. I worked under Jack Horner. Most of the time under Denver Fowler, his last PhD student. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So these are the teeth of B. Rex. And actually, give me just a minute, because I have one of these, not one of the originals, but a cast, an exact molded and cast copy of one of these here in my office. Let me dig that out real quick. I will be right back. Here, give me a second. All right. It's your lucky day. It was in the first box I looked in. This is one of B. Rex's teeth right here. So this is a Tyrannosaurus tooth. This one is cast in resin, but it is an exact copy of the real thing. And you can see that cutting surface right there, those carinae. This is still kind of sharp enough that if I really pressed my finger hard against this, I could probably draw blood from my finger, not from the tooth, obviously. It's plastic. But, yeah. Look at how thick that is in cross-section. So Tyrannosaurus had really, really thick teeth. These are not teeth that evolved for slicing or for, you know, for necessarily, like, cutting through flesh. These are meant for puncturing and crushing. This is an implement of, you know, just flesh and bone destruction like this. This is the kind of tooth that will crush bone. It's pretty cool. The majority of this is the root. So all of this section right here is the tooth root. See how this is kind of scrungy looking? This is the tooth root that would have been inside the jaw, so only that part is what's protruding there. So these teeth have very, very deep roots, like a lot of dinosaur teeth do. And that's something that adds to that strength, that resilience of the tooth. And as Jack is about to say, these are not permanent things. Dinosaur teeth are temporary. Here, take a look. Yeah. And I love the journalist here, Leslie Stahl. She's just blown away by this. It makes me so happy to see, you know? Watch. I love the enthusiasm here. In fact, let me find you a clip of her just gushing about this. She was like promoting this piece. Here. Come on, YouTube. You can do it.
This Sunday's 60 Minutes has a profile of renowned paleontologist Jack Horner. He reveals a surprising and controversial discovery by his team that some say could lead to a real-life Jurassic Park.
Is that a blood vessel?
This is a blood vessel.
You're
You
kidding.
see the branches right there? And look at all of them. It's so consistent over and over and over again. We do this bone and it comes out and I get excited every time.
60 Minutes correspondent Leslie Stahl is here with more. Good morning, Leslie.
How are you?
Good. What did they find in that dinosaur bone?
Well, first you have to know that they're breaking the bones to get stuff out to look at it. So that's
Yeah.
they're
His glue is
deliberately
cheap.
breaking these bones apart. I thought that was stunning.
Because usually you want to keep them intact.
Well, you would think, but they're not. They're looking in the microscope.
Oh, yeah, and they go through this process, and you would think there would be nothing left.
Exactly.
And there's this stuff.
There's the
Yeah. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but let me just fast forward to the end of this clip and then we'll get back to the actual piece.
It is not just
Yeah.
more and more people around to think that it's right to pursue this. It's right to keep going.
It sounds like a perfect 60 Minute story.
I know.
You know what? It is not just about the blood vessels. That's that's only part of the story. How they found this, what they call B-Rex, Bob Rex, how they found it is astonishing.
Yeah.
And then the breaking apart to see what's inside. All of it is just, am I hyping too much?
No, we can't wait to see it. I'm sure it'll live up to the hype.
He says just a little too much.
No, I don't think.
I'm not overselling. I'm not.
It's good when a reporter is that excited about her story.
Leslie, great to see you.
Great, thank you.
She says this is like her favorite story that she has ever done. It's pretty cool. Like it. Oh. Mechaholic, 29 months of support there.
Ontogeny.
Thank you, Mechaholic, for your continued support. 29 months is a long time, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. Holy cow. Yeah. It's really validating as a paleontologist that, like, a journalist here would be so excited about what we work on. It's just really cool to see, you know? Very validating. And holy cow, Reaganation, thank you for those 10 gift subs. Look at this lovely Tinamu bird, this living dinosaur. So excited about those 10 gift subs. Uh-oh. Oh, shoot.
Reaganation is overloading the system with 10 gift subs.
Holy cow, Reaganation. Thank you, thank you. Do I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Good stuff. Holy cow.
The history of life. It's very quirky, fortuitous, chancy character. We are literally here only because of the good fortune of dinosaur extinction.
Except for birds, yeah. Red Bulwark, thank you for the 7 months of support. I appreciate that, Red Bulwark. Thanks for keeping me online for the past 7 months. And Reaganation, 10 gift subs there. I appreciate that more than you know. As I'm sure do the 10 chatters who won't have to watch any ads for the next 30 days. Thank you, Reaganation. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now, let's get back into our 60 minutes piece here, shall we? Yeah. And so the reason that we can actually tell that, because somebody was asking about how do we know that T-Rex replaced all their teeth every year? You can actually do histo on the teeth, so you can look at the growth rings inside the teeth, and that corresponds to every year them being replaced. So, like, you don't have more than 1 year of teeth. You don't have more than 1 year in each tooth, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like in trees, Miss Yvette, yeah. Yeah. And yep, all of them every year, Red Bulwark. Yes, indeed. Would replace all their teeth every year. You know, not all at once. It's just like this tooth gets a little worn down, and then another tooth comes in to push it out, and it's just like a constant conveyor belt. But it was done in such a way that they never had a lack of any teeth, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like sharks, Red Bulwark and Miss Yvette. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, most animals that have teeth do that. They replace their teeth all the time. Sharks do that. I think lizards do that. Crocodiles do that. Dinosaurs did that. Fishes may or may not do that. Ray-finned fishes might not, actually. But, yeah. We as mammals are weird. We don't do that. Because we've got, like, a different system going on, you know? Let me find you a quick clip to kind of explain that. Yeah, I think it's here. And this documentary with Neil Shubin when he goes to the dentist office. Yeah, here we go. This is exactly what I was looking for. Good stuff. Turn the volume up so you can hear it. And there we go. So here's paleontologist Neil Shubin to explain this concept here.
Right, a mouth of molars. Couldn't eat the apple. Mouth of incisors. I couldn't eat the whatever you call this. It's good, by the way.
Guava roll.
Guava roll. Thank you for having molars, because I'm glad I could do this one.
You know, but the humble tooth is very important for our lives today. Every time you bite into an apple, right, that is a very complex behavior. Our front of our teeth, the incisors, bite into that apple, and they do so in almost a perfect way. The teeth occlude in a very fixed pattern, a very precise pattern.
Yep. That precision.
We take for granted how we rely on precise tooth-to-tooth occlusion, except when things go wrong, except when we crack a tooth or something like that.
Yeah. That precision is what we mammals traded Like, we wanted that precision, or wanted. Our earliest mammalian ancestors evolved that precision, but in order to have that precise bite, you had to pay something. There was a cost to that, and that was having constantly replacing teeth. You know?
Well, good look at you, Neil, and make sure everything is where it's supposed to be.
Yep.
And there's nothing in here that isn't supposed to be.
Wonderfully complex teeth,
good teeth
might allow us to have a great bite, but it's come at a price.
You know, one of the things that's interesting to think about is, you know, the consequences of the reptile-mammal transition are the fact that we need dentists. It's really
Thank
true. You're right. Thanks. Thank you, South African fossils.
Thank you very much.
I mean, reptiles don't need dentists, right? Because they're producing lots of teeth throughout their lives. You know, boom, 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 and they produce them, they're out of there.
Most reptiles, like the snake, grow multiple sets of teeth in their lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
There's a constant stream of new teeth erupting in their mouths.
Dinosaurs were the same way.
After we lose our baby teeth, we're left with one adult set to last us the rest of our lives.
Yep. We're stuck with it.
This may not seem like the best of strategies, but there is a plus side. It allows us to develop our very precise bite.
Yep.
If you're
Which is really important to mammals.
Teeth, right? I mean, I think it would be hard to get that, you know, micron scale occlusion, which is so really important to us.
You're right. When we lose a tooth, the changes that occur to compensate for the loss of that tooth and the space that it held has a profound effect on our occlusions.
The reason our rows of teeth match up so precisely is that our ancestors reduced the number of sets that they produced.
Yep.
We've made up for that by strengthening our teeth with extra roots and thick enamel to help them last a lifetime.
Yep.
Along with a little help from our dentists.
That's neat. I'll have to take better look when I go to the
Go to the
zoo
zoo.
with my kids. The reptile house is not my favorite place.
Yeah,
Neil,
it's
so
not a great
I would
place.
like them in the form you find them.
You're dead?
Yeah, dead 200 million years.
Anyway, yeah. Again, when I was talking about, like, paleontology gives you a perspective that's different. You know, a new appreciation for things that you might encounter every day, like, for instance, your own teeth. You know? Fossil science gives us a perspective on that we wouldn't otherwise have. A new way of looking at things. A way that's rooted in our evolutionary history. I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, yeah. And Sparky Buggers, yeah. Especially for mammals, dental health is extraordinarily important. It can have impacts on other parts of your body. If we were just constantly replacing our teeth, like most other creatures that have teeth, non-mammals, you know, it wouldn't have such a profound effect, because it's like, oh, a tooth breaks or whatever, just, you know, pull it out. Or it'll get pushed out by the next tooth coming in, more likely. But yeah. And Wheel62 says, Danny, is there any evidence that therapsids had multiple or few tooth replacements? I think there is, Wheel62, but I don't know for sure. I'm not a therapsid expert, but I'm pretty sure that by the time that Therapsida comes about, by the time they evolve, they've already switched to having fewer sets of teeth over their lifetime, and those teeth being stronger, you know? Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to our 60 Minutes documentary here, shall we? Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Shoot, we're only still at the beginning. Pimpcat says, do we know why sharks have several rows of teeth? Because that's how they replace them, is they come up in rows. Rather than one tooth coming up from the bottom of another one and pushing it out, instead, sharks, it's like a conveyor belt where it comes forward like this. So, let's see. Shark tooth rows. So yeah, their teeth just, they like almost fold up from the back, and that's how they replace their teeth. which is really cool. They've got these multiple rows of teeth like that. That's how they replaced them. Different from how dinosaurs did it. Yeah. Their mouths are like chainsaws, very slow chainsaws. There you go, avocado, yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Back to this. Yep. Yep. I love her reaction to this. Oh, this got to be an adult, right? It's so much bigger. Oh, man. So this is Maiasaura that Jack is showing Leslie Stahl right here. There we go. Maiasaura, the good mother lizard, is a dinosaur that Jack Horner described. The name good mother lizard is in reference to evidence of parental care that he found in these animals. And this just arrived the other day. So glad I've got a copy of this now. This is actually the first book that Jack Horner ever wrote, ever published. Maya, A Dinosaur Grows Up. It's a children's book, but there's, like, excellent science in it, and excellent art. This is, really lovely. Maya, A Dinosaur Grows Up. There's Maiasaur right there. Bunch of babies. There are, you know, scientific... Whoop. Uh-oh, shoot. Stay there. I pulled the scissor arm out of its housing. Out of its socket. But there are, like, you know, scientific publication quality images in here. Mother Maiasaur leading her babies through the undergrowth like that. And, yeah, here we go. Oh, I love this one right here. Really beautiful. These juvenile or subadult Maiasaurs on the edge of the western interior seaway there. Lovely. Beautiful illustrations by Douglas Henderson. Really awesome. Yeah. But, yeah. Digging out a nest like this and laying her eggs. We have evidence for all of this, which is really, really cool. What I love most about this is that it's based on actual fossil evidence. And what a cool way to reach out to the public and get them excited about fossil science in, like, a children's book like this, written by a dinosaur paleontologist. There are ideas in this book, in this, you know, short little storybook right here, that would later go on to be published in scientific journals. Really cool stuff. Really, really cool stuff. Anyway, yeah. And Kenny Gabe, thanks for being here. You have a good rest of your day. And Lady Orca, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you here. Anyway, that's what Jack Horner is maybe most famous for. At least until this story. Yeah. Oh, hang on. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Oh, shoot, I paused it too late, but what are you going to say? Here is Sean Carroll, evolutionary biologist. Is he going to say yes or no to this idea that birds are living dinosaurs? What do you think the general consensus is nowadays, chat? Or what was it back in 2009 or whatever? Whenever this was 13 years ago, yeah. 2011, maybe? Absolutely not. That's my vote. uh, hmm. Yep. Storm's out. Yep. 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 And it wasn't like birds emerged unscathed from that. Here's this is not published yet, but I show this sometimes. This is, and you know, it's not been peer reviewed yet either, so it might change a little bit. This will give you a really good sense for like when that asteroid hit 66 million years ago. This is the percent number of species that went extinct from each of these groups. For the non-avian dinosaurs, the non-bird dinosaurs, it was 100%. Freshwater fishes, 40%. 20% of crocodilians and champsosaurs went extinct. 22% of salamanders and newts. 22% of turtles. 92% of lizards and snakes. 90% of mammal species died out then, too. They almost got completely wiped out. Our ancestors barely made it. And 94% of bird species also got wiped out at the time. Only like 6% of bird species survived and gave rise to all the birds that we have today. So I don't want you to think that it was a walk in the park for birds. They almost didn't make it. Oh yeah. Yeah. And 90% of mammals, I know, right? 90% of mammals got wiped out. Only 10% of mammal species survived, give or take a few. You know, when we're dealing with fossils, it's like doing species counts across extinction events is always a little tricky. But yeah. So glad the burbs made it. Me too, Lenina. Me too. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, but those crocodiles and those turtles, they did really well. So did the salamanders and newts. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, let's continue here. Yep. Yeah, Mary. And so this does work if you try it, but this is not how paleontologists identify bone. We don't go around licking everything in the field to tell if it's bone or not. We can tell by looking at it and by feeling it, you know? But it's funny. Mary is not really like a field person. So like maybe she does this in the field, or maybe she just knows that like when you have outsiders joining your field crew, when you've got new volunteers, or better yet, donors or VIPs, make them do this. Make them lick a piece of bone like that, because they will never forget that, you know? It's something that will always stick in your memory. Like, oh, you know, they had me lick a dinosaur bone, and, you know, it stuck to my tongue, and you know, it was really wild. It's a way to really get people to remember that. And, yeah, we used to do this all the time when we'd have VIPs or donors visiting our field site, because they're really impressed by that, you know? Yeah. Yep. This is one of the things that I love about Jack, is just his recognition that we dig these fossils up in the first place in order to learn from them, to gather information from them, to get good data out of them. We're here not just collecting pretty objects, to be all precious about them. No. We're here to learn about the ancient past. And sometimes to make an omelet, you gotta crack a few eggs, you know? But the good thing about these eggs is you can glue them back together afterward, and they're fine. Glue is cheap. Yes, indeed. I mean, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, these are all people I've worked with. There is Incongrio69. Thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. It's good to have you here. Thanks for clicking that follow button. Here is my old mentor, Denver Fowler, who was Jack Horner's final PhD student. He now runs the Badlands Dinosaur Museum in Dickinson, North Dakota. There is Liz Friedman. She's married to Denver now. They're kind of a paleo power couple. I think this is, so Liz works on hadrosaurs, duckbill dinosaurs. She is super, super cool. I think this is Brian Baziak right here. And I recognize her from her back. This is Holly Woodward, who is a world authority on dinosaur histology. So, like, cutting open dinosaur bones in order to be able to look at their interiors and figure out how old they were when they died. That's what Holly does.
All together in what looked like a nest-shaped depression. And nearby, they also found a larger dinosaur skull.
There we go.
Information, I take a bone like this tibia, and I make a small section. I take a chunk out of the bone shaft. And when I do that, I eventually polish it down so thin that light can pass through, and you end up with what we call a thin section slide. And so what you're seeing here, all the brown is bone, and the middle, this white spot, this would be where the marrow cavity was. Yep. And when I look at this through a microscope, I can see all the tiny bone microstructures that were there in real life. They've been fossilized as well. So by looking at those and interpreting them using modern bones for comparison, I can then make inferences on how this dinosaur lived and died.
Pretty cool stuff. So this is one of those things that, like, Jack Horner really pushed for, and he pushed for his students to do. And again, sometimes to make an omelet, you got to crack a few eggs. Sometimes you got to cut some dinosaur bones open in order to be able to actually study the interior, to get information on how old was this animal when it died. Like, how fast was it growing? What was its metabolism like? All of these extraordinarily important questions that you could never answer if you didn't do this in the first place. There's some paleontologists who would call this destructive sampling, because you got to cut the bone open. We at Museum of the Rockies preferred to call it enhanced sampling, because you get such important information out of it. Oh, yeah. Let's continue. And Bob Harmon, holy cow, this guy, he was a legend. Yeah, holy cow. Yep. And so what I usually say at this point is that Bob Harmon, all the respect in the world to Bob, a legend. I watched a movie one time. You know when you watch a movie sometimes and, like, there's a character in the movie and you're like, holy cow, I know this person. It was a Tarantino film. It was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And Brad Pitt's character in this, he is Bob Harmon, basically. So in this movie, he's like a stuntman, just like, anyway, I'm not going to explain it if you haven't seen it. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. Same personality as Bob Harmon, just as much of a, you know what I mean, you know? He's a tough person, Tannerim, absolutely. Like, just in terms of his personality and his whole deal, you know, his whole vibe. This guy is Bob Harmon. It was crazy. I was watching that movie and I'm like, I've seen this guy before. I know this guy. That basically is Bob Harmon. Yep. And oh no, diagonal. That's unfortunate. Yeah. Yep. Jacket is what she means. Jacket, not cast. Yep. This is huge. This is huge at the time. Come again? Yeah. Here. Record scratch. Yes, indeed. Pregnant with eggs. Yes, Trek Nerd. Yeah. Yeah. Have you not seen this before, Trek Nerd? I feel like we've watched this a dozen times, but not everybody's always here when we watch this. I love to show this video because it shows the environment in which I became a paleontologist. This is my old museum. This is where I was trained. You know, this is a big part of who I am. And yeah. The world's first, not just pregnant T-Rex, but the world's first dinosaur that we could tell whether it was male or female. This is a huge deal. Yep. Yeah. And pregnant means in reproduction mode. Yeah, gravid would be the actual biological term for this. Gravid means you got eggs in you that you're gonna lay. Gravid. And I'll see you later, Tannerim. Thanks for being here. But yeah. Medullary bone is what she found. Yep. And Patrick Crusader says that's what pregnant is called in Swedish. Really, gravid. Gravid is the Swedish word for pregnant? Well, there you go. Interesting stuff. Makes sense. Same in Norwegian. Cool, Baha. Cool. Uh-oh. And Lordy, thank you for that gift sub there. I appreciate that, Lordy. Thank you. And I am watching the time here, Lordy. I am. We're going to finish this video, and then I'll be ready to go. Yeah. Yeah, holy cow. Take a look at that. That's nuts. Yep. Pasta on. Thank you, Lordy. Appreciate that. I'm hungry. And this is, again, Mary Schweitzer, consummate scientist here. If you find something really wild and unexpected in science, your first instinct as a scientist is usually like, shoot, there's got to be some mistake, you know? I must have done something wrong. Something's weird. I don't believe it. Let's try it again. If we can repeat it, then maybe it's legit. Repeatability is one of these really, really important things in science. That's what sets science apart from other ways of knowing, you know, is that in science, if something is true, it should be true no matter who tries it, no matter what laboratory it is, you know, no matter when you do, like, it should happen. It should be repeatable. You should be able to do it again if it's legit. And so that was Mary's first instinct here. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Rules of science. They're more like assumptions that we had that, like, well, shoot, nobody's really thought about it before, but like, we wouldn't expect to find blood vessels. You'd never think of that. blood vessels from the time of the dinosaurs. So it turns out that stuff is a lot more resilient than we thought it was, you know? DNA, on the other hand, is far too fragile, and we've not been able to get a single scrap of that. But lots of this stuff. Yeah. Risk of contamination, yeah. Bacterial biofilms, yeah. These were some ideas like in rebuttal papers soon after this, but yeah. Yep. Yep.
The year has been well spent.
Holy
I
cow,
also got
Lordy.
this one to share, Lord Hungry.
Thank you for the 44 months, Lordy. Temporarily at tier 3 there. Thank you, Lordy, for your ongoing support. I really appreciate you. I will be upstairs soon to have some pasta. Thank you for making it. I gotta finish this video out though. Let's get this done. Yep. There's Liz there. Yeah, so we didn't actually. I've never used surgical gloves in the field unless I'm like giving somebody medical care, which I've done a couple times. This is kind of for the cameras, you know. We've kind of determined like, oh shoot, there's probably zero chance we're gonna find DNA. People are continuing to look, but nobody around the world has been able to find a single solitary scrap of DNA from a Mesozoic dinosaur. And Patrick Crusader, I don't know if that was a bust, but I think it was. I don't think it turned out to be a DNA. I think it turned out to be more proteins or something like that. Wasn't it, Patrick Crusader? My friend Alita was actually, or I've not spoken to Alita in years and years, but you know, Alita Bayul was one of the authors on that paper. I think her and Jingmei O'Connor. I think. I don't think anything ever came out of that. Yeah. Yep. Remember Beer Camp? Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I would highly recommend this book, by the way, if you're interested in this subject, How to Build a Dinosaur by Jack Horner. You can get it as an audiobook too, which is pretty good. It's good stuff. Yep. 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 Mm-hmm. Yep. And Bill Nash says that's CRISPR territory, isn't it? This was from long before CRISPR, actually. I think that is the idea nowadays, is that they can use that, but before, the idea wasn't to alter the genome at all. It was just to change when certain genes kick on and kick off. There have been a lot of snafus with this. Getting the tail to lengthen turned out to be, like, fatal to these embryos. So I think CRISPR might be like an easy, cheap, simple technology that they're going to try and employ in the future. Or maybe in the present. Maybe that's currently going on. But, yeah. This was like 13 years ago, so clearly that hasn't happened. But we're closer now than we were then. Anyway, I'll give you a link to this right here. And if you'd like to see an update on this too, then is it there? Yeah, check out Dana Rashid's video. She might still be lead researcher on this project. And she's super cool. You're really gonna like her TED Talk about this from just a few years ago. Yeah. Anyway, with that, I gotta get going, everybody. I hope you learned something today. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you've got a newfound appreciation for this incredible world that we live in and its amazing history, which dinosaurs are, in my opinion, the coolest part of. We're going to run our credits here real quick, and we are going to go right into, I think, Science streams, if they're on. They might not be yet, though, because I am ending early. Nope, not on yet. So let's go raid into... Let's see here. Oh, and come on, credits. Why are you not working? Let's refresh the page on the credits and hope that they work. Come on, credits. There we go. Thank you to everybody whose names are showing up here in our credits. And, you know what? Let's go say hello to... I'm not used to rating out this early. What's Attack Rack doing? Or... Claire Burr? Claire, can I raid you right now? Or should we do Luis de Leon? Should I raid you, Claire? Let me know, yes or no. Otherwise, we'll do Luis de Leon. Raid Claire, says Lordy? Okay. We're gonna go raid one of our most stalwart moderators here. Honestly, our most stalwart moderator, probably. Maybe one of our longest running. Claire Bird does so much for this community. We're gonna go hang out with her. So, let's do that. Thank you, everybody, for an excellent stream. I hope you had fun today. And did that work? Nope. Raid Claire Burr. There we go. We can watch Claire and mod Danny. There you go, HD. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to go see the new Godzilla film with Snail Chaser. So excited about this. And Lordy's got some pasta for me before I do that, so I'm going to have a good meal. Everybody, you have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you again on Monday for another exciting paleontology broadcast. Who knows what we'll see then? Anyway, everybody, take care, and let's go see what Claire's up to. Bye-bye, everybody. See you later.